All right, race fans, we are back. Ryan Aho, of course, we got the former Pure Stock champion up at the Proctor Speedway, multi-time crew chief for a national championship team. We got Changa in the house, and he's got his name is Jim McClellan on there. True story, Bert. The first year or so, right, that he was pitting for me because I met him at the track, and I was like, "Hey, guy, you want to change the tranny?" Right? I knew him as Changa. I had no freaking idea that his name was Jim. No clue. I had no clue. I just knew him as Changa. So I'm like, so people are confused. They're like, "Who's this Jim McClellan guy?" No, it's Changa. That's who it is. And then of course, what's that?
Next time, if I can figure out technical difficulties, I'll change it for you.
All right. And then we have the former editor there of the Full Throttle magazine, a publication that was pretty prominent up in eastern Wisconsin for a number of years, in racing historian himself, the one and only Bert Lehman. Of course, diecast car extraordinaire, we'll call him that too. You kind of have a collection, and he does some pretty cool ones that he makes for some stuff over at Shawano that we'll talk about at a later date. But episode 253, guys, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. We'll start there with one of our sponsors. So if you're self-employed, if you're a business owner, if you pay for your own health insurance and you look every single month and you're like, man, I am paying way too much money for healthcare. Deductibles maybe are way too high. Maybe you're stuck going to a specific doctor that you don't want to go to because they're the only ones in network. I might have a solution for you. A company called Impact Health Sharing. Been able to bring families in right around $600 a month. Individuals, you're looking at anywhere between $200 and $300 a month for premiums. So you're looking roughly at about 50% discount as compared to traditional health insurance. I can get you a quick quote, all the information you need, see if it's something that we can help you out with. That's Impact Health Sharing. And my number, 218-969-1380. You can call me, text me, hit me up on Messenger, whatever you got to do, and I can get you some information. So let's start with this. You know, we took a week off. That's my fault. I took a week off. I was traveling the world, vacation of the month club, went down to see mom and dad down in Arizona, had a hell of a good time, caught some racing, went to a ball game, went to the Grand Canyon, did all kinds of cool stuff. Always fun to go down and visit with mom and dad. And I urge people to do that as much as possible because, as we all know, we just don't know how much longer everybody is going to be here. I mean, hell, we could all pass away tomorrow. So, you know, spend that time doing the things you like to do with the people that you care about. And I was able to do that. How about you, Changa? What have you been up to? Hockey season essentially over. Bert, a little bit of bad news. So Changa's kid, pretty good hockey player. What is he? He's a squirt going into Pee Wees. Is that what he is? Or Pee Wee going into Bantams? Okay. And he was going to try out for what, Team Wisconsin, injured himself, and yeah, kind of set himself behind the eight ball a little bit. But is hockey done for you guys, or what do you got planned, and what have you been up to over the last couple of weeks here?
Hockey's never done. Every single day there's another opportunity. It's how much do you want to spend on the opportunity, right? You know, if I was a millionaire like Bert, I'd probably have them play since 65, you know, do more die casts and play hockey every day. I've been doing a lot of laundry, a lot of dishes. Wife's been sick for a week, and so I've been, you know, playing daddy mode, you know.
Well, speaking of sick, right? So she probably is sick. So we want Teresa to get better because we know who runs that household. You know, boss has got to get herself back to health. Yeah, okay. He talks big, Bert, when she's not here. Okay, we understand how that works.
I wear the pants around the house when I'm finished with the laundry, just so you know.
She just tells them what pants to wear, right? That's and how to put them on. So Kraus not with us again. Right, we had it all planned out. Hey, let's push it back a day here. We were gonna do the show yesterday. Kraus is like, let's do it tomorrow. Said he was sick, but I think he's just scared. You know, I think he's scared. He went to a couple of soda meetings. He's a promoter. He went to the tech meeting. My guess, he probably got warned. Don't be hanging out with them guys. Don't talk to them guys. Don't even fucking look at those guys. I don't want to hear about it. We will. Kraus, I'm going to be honest with you, all right? Nothing to be scared of. Okay. First of all, you got to finish a race to finish in the tech shed to get teched anyway. Okay.
Right.
So you're going to be okay. You're probably just fine. So, no, with that said, Kraus is under the weather, but he'll be back with us here next week. So,
I believe I heard it was he didn't have any clean skirts to wear.
yeah, that might be it. Kind of a luau thing or whatever. I'm not sure, right? Not sure what he's identifying as today, but I guess we'll figure it out. Bert, how about you? You said that you kind of a little schedule change, jumping into 4-day weeks now instead of 5, kind of a part timer, kind of like it.
Yeah, where I work in the summer, they let us work 410s. So now my alarm goes off at 4:50 in the morning rather than 5:30. So I got to get up a little bit earlier. But you're talking about diecasts. I've actually been pretty busy. I've been working on an order for the last month or so, but 5 of one car and 4 of another car, and then some other stuff too. So I don't do as many die casts as I used to, but I still get a little busy doing them.
We expect to see the finished product before they get sent out. You have the finished product
Oh,
on here,
I can
so we
I
can see
can
it.
get them right now.
Well, there you go. He does have the finished product. How about that? All right.
Oh my God.
So yeah, Bert can hear us in the background there. A couple nights ago, speaking of getting up at 4:30 in the morning, and if anybody knows me, that is 100% against my religion. There is definitely a better chance for me to still be up at 4:30 in the morning than there is for me to wake up at 4:30 in the morning. And what was it? 3 o'clock in the morning, I get a phone call from Changa the other night. I'm like, what the hell are you doing on a school night calling me at 3 in the morning? And sounds like he had some coworkers there that dad is well, I don't know if he's still with us or not, but in the hospital and kind of had to take care of some stuff. But I was quite surprised to get a phone call from old Changa at 3 a.m. So Bert, what do we got here?
All right, we have a street stock. It had street stocks have the spoilers on. But what I do, this is actually a Mark Martin vintage NASCAR Monte Carlo that I strip and repaint, and so I cut the windshield off so it has that top part like the real car does. Um, I hand painted the chassis inside, and then this is a IMC stock car. I grind the spoiler off of the car because IMCA stock cars don't have spoilers on them, and so yeah,
Who do we got there? I couldn't see the number, so look, I got bad eyes.
55K is Jesse Cron. He's from the Beaver Dam area, in Wisconsin, and then
70.
75 is I believe his name is James Fletcher. I'm not sure what his hometown is, but he races locally. I think at like Seymour. So yeah, I've been working on these for the past month or so. It's a process.
Well, there you go, racers. If you need diecast made, Bert's kind of in a, kind of more of a hobbyist doing it, but you've done some pretty cool ones. We've seen quite a few of them on here for sure. So, with that said, let's jump into some local news. Let's jump into WISSOTA news to start with, and they actually parted ways with a guy by the name of Mike Lacey. He was the partnership manager for WISSOTA under a year. He didn't even make it a year. I never had the liberty of meeting this guy. I'm friends with him on Facebook. It's about all I can say. But from what I understand, he was taking care of sponsors, maybe helping get sponsors, doing different stuff that maybe social media related with sponsors. And I don't know all the details, but parted ways. And so good luck to him. Kind of crazy because they don't have a lot of employees. I kind of figured I would know most of them, but never had the opportunity to meet Mike. So I have seen a few posts on Facebook, but I guess WISSOTA down one more employee. So I don't know if they're going to replace that guy. I do know that the social media side of things, and we'll talk about that in a second. From what I understand, that is primarily Chris Steppen and JC Norgard now, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So WISSOTA parting ways with a guy there, and the tech stuff basically they kind of parceled that out as far as the from what I understand, my sources tell me that they don't have one individual person in charge of all the classes, like a head of Wissota Teching, say like Bill Engelstad was. From what I understand, is there's certain people that are more assigned to a specific class or maybe a couple classes, which I think is no disrespect to anybody. I think that's just a better thing. There's far too many classes, far too many rules to really understand every aspect of everything in every class. So it's good to see that, and I understand that Todd Good from Casino Speedway is actually kind of the head of that, coordinating director of putting everything together. So they're moving in the right direction. So Bert, get this. So I get a couple phone calls here, text messages. Hey, reach out to me. Rod Lindquist reached out to me, former executive director of Wissota. Like we've been chatting it up here the last couple weeks, and I was kind of BSing with him. He's like, got to be honest, life is much less stressful not being the executive director of Wissota. He had nothing against it. He loves racing, loves with Wissota and so on, but he said it is much less stressful and still involved with racing. So I want to give him a shout out. Keep an eye on this kid. So we've all heard of the ASCS Sprint Car Series, kind of more of a regional type deal. There's a 14-year-old kid from Sioux Falls, Brogan Carter, that he actually is helping him get sponsors, locked in a couple big ones for him. He's going to go to most of the races with them, kind of like managing their team. So Rod Lindquist still involved with racing, probably a little bit less stressful role there. Good luck to him. A couple shout outs from a friend of the show, Quentin. This kind of gets into the social media side. First one, and he's not even here to pick on, which is completely bullshit. I wanted to kind of be able to hammer on Kraus and get his response, but I guess we'll just get a big FU text message or something. But needless to say, Juanita down at the Fiesta City Speedway, Burton and Changa in Montevideo, Minnesota, they for the last couple of years they've been doing the actual March Madness brackets, not like the Wissota one with drivers. March Madness brackets where the fans, drivers, teams, they can all kind of compete against each other, and it's just kind of a neat deal. Like Bobby Pierce did that on his page, and I know Josh Rice did one, and kind of a cool deal. It's just kind of neat to be able to interact, much like we do with the pick'ems. And he wanted to give a shout out, said they had some pretty cool prizes, and it's worked out good. I said, the only question I have is, are you beating Kraus? He's like, I am beating Kraus. He goes, I'm still in the hunt. He goes, the only thing I can say is, as miserable as his season was racing last year, his brackets are far worse. He's getting his ass stomped. Is Kraus might be leading our brackets. I'm not sure, so I can't talk too much shit. But he's not doing very good in the Fiesta City ones. So good luck to Quentin there. And he wanted to give a shout out to Wissota as well. So I mean, Bert, back a couple years ago, we are pretty darn critical about the lack of presence on social media from Wissota, right? Like literally, it's like, why do they even have social media? They didn't do nothing, right? I mean, it was terrible. Then they hired someone. That person essentially didn't do very much. Well, now Chris and JC, I'll be honest, they've done a pretty darn bang up job so far this season, dating back to, you look back in January when all the Wissota cars are down in Arizona, and they're like, hey, watch these drivers and giving them shout outs, and they're every single day they're promoting a different racetrack and their schedule. And I think Chris Steppen, put together the March Madness bracket where you vote for the drivers. Bert, did you see that online, probably on the
I
2020
saw it.
page?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I know Chong has been voting like crazy for our buddy Brandon Kopp up there, but
I voted for a lot of guys, but
I think he won, didn't he? Brandon Kopp did. I think yeah, and
he
they do a
beat
great
Steele
job.
in the final and he crushed them.
Right, they do a great job with their social media. Brandon is, I guess, probably his sister more than anything. But I had a few people, guys, reach out and say, "Well, this is just nothing more than like kissing certain people's asses and this and that and the other." Well, I don't know if I look at it that way. Anytime that you can have that fan driver team interaction, that's a good thing. I think that's something that's been lacking throughout racing. So Quentin wanted to start it off, and I got to tip the cap to them too. I think they're doing a pretty good job with social media. And as much as we bang on Wissota for the dumb shit that they do, we got to give them props when they do good things as well. So we'll give them a props here. So either one of you want to comment on either one of anything from Wissota, what you're seeing on social media?
Well, that's the thing right there. You're actually seeing something, right? We haven't even seen anything this time of year in the past. And, anytime there's a guy going to Texas or going to Arizona or going to Florida, they're saying, hey, this guy's going to be there. You know, tune in to whatever platform if you can't be there and support them and cheer for them. And, it's awesome. I mean, anything you can do to bring any sort of publicity to Wissota is, I guess, a plus, right?
Absolutely, and specifically the Wissota racers, right? I mean, this show is primarily more about the drivers than they are about any specific entity out there, and for them to be showcasing the drivers and be like, hey, these are Wissota drivers, cheer for them. That's kind of a cool thing, and then keeping us updated on what they're doing in the off season, and it's fun to see. I want to congratulate them on that. Hope they keep it going, and hopefully that's something they can grow from. Bert, any comments on that before we roll into the next topic here?
No, just social media, can be a negative thing, but when you use it for positive, for promotion, that's always a good thing, and it's good to see them doing that.
Absolutely. So a little bit of sad news. Bert would remember this guy. Changa, you probably heard about him. I don't know if you remember him or not, but driver by the name of Red Steffen. I remember him back from the early 80s. He used to come up to Hibbing for the Labor Day shootout, Superior. He came to all of the specials back in the day, driver from the Eau Claire area. Passed away here just a few days ago. And it's always a bummer to see. And 1983, I was kind of looking back at some stats. Pretty big year for him. He won the Labor Day shootout up at the Hibbing Raceway and the Punky Manor Challenge of Champions at his home track in Menominee, Wisconsin at the Red Cedar Speedway. And just one of those guys. He ran the number 2 car, and he's had family members. I think Dan and Bart both, I think, have raced, and maybe they're still racing. I'm not positive, but Red Steffen, I remember that core group, Bert. I don't know about you, because I know you went with MJ back around that time. And I remember the core group kind of being, at least the ones I can remember. I don't know if they hung out because I wasn't from down there, but it was Red Steffen, Tom Stiding, Leon Plank, Phil Prusak. That was kind of the main group that came up. And of course, Tom Stiding passed several years ago. Leon Plank's still around. I think he still sponsors John Canta, I think, with that LPI lift systems. But those were 4 cars. When they came up to the invitationals, they were going to make some noise. They were going to run really, really good. And just sad to see him go. Do you have any memories, Bert, of Red Steffen racing the 2 car, or not so much? Or
No, he was a little bit before my time. I mean, I know the name, but I don't remember seeing him. I may have seen him race, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, 1983 was basically a year after I really fell in love with racing. So I have a lot of pictures of the 2 car up in Hibbing from the early 80s. So just thoughts and prayers to the family. It's always tough losing someone from the racing community, especially family. Breaking news. A guy jumping back into a late model Eastern Wisconsin, kind of probably more central Wisconsin than Eastern Wisconsin. Bert, what did you see there online?
Yeah, Kerry Hansen his car was posted on Facebook. Now that wasn't on April Fool's Day, was it?
God, I don't know.
Now that we're talking about it, I'm not sure.
Well, he ran mods a little bit the
That's
last
funny.
handful of years. So you might have to take a look. We might have just got punked. I don't know.
That's
Maybe. Yeah, we're gonna have to research that. But I mean, hopefully, you guys are freaking lacking race cars in the late model class in Eastern Wisconsin. So if he came back, that would be super. But 1992 Punky Manor Challenge of Champions winner. I mean, he won more races than that, but I always remember his cars because he had the numbers that were kind of chiseled out, so to
Yep.
speak. I don't know what the name, and he always had pretty badass looking race cars. But yeah, I guess Changa can take a look, and I don't think we got punked, but huh?
Where does he live now?
Spencer, Wisconsin, doesn't he? Kind of over by I guess it'd be east of Chippewa Falls. I think right off 29.
It's like in central Wisconsin somewhere, yeah.
Kind of by Marshfield, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Is this the same Kerry Hansen that way back in our days when you were first starting out that ran the super stock number
No,
4?
No,
Okay.
no.
I mean, I
Nope.
remember both of them, but I didn't know if they were the same guy.
Yep, different guy. Different guy. Yep. At
But
least I believe that's different guys. I guess I saw Kerry Hansen. Oh, it's 25. So no, it would be the Kerry
25.
Hansen. Yeah, different guy. That was number 4. And
Fast
I
too.
think he was really fast too. I think he's down in that area. Bert, I know that we saw a couple other tidbits. Any other news, Eastern Wisconsin? Anything that maybe you want to touch on?
Um, well,
Mullins got put out there.
what's that?
They said
What's
Mullins' car was on Facebook. It looks
I
nice.
I gotta ask you this, Bert. Did I see Shano putting out a post basically asking for donations from fans?
Yes, they want to add clay to the track because the clay they added several years ago was mostly sand, was way too much sand. So they want to add, well, I mean, it's April 3rd and they want to add clay to the track. And, but they're asking fans to make donations. Fans can donate to sponsor a truckload of clay, and then their name will be placed on a big banner at the speedway and stuff. And I mean, my opinion is okay, fine, put the letter out if people want to donate, fine, but don't expect the fan. I mean, in the letter it said we don't expect fans to pay for the entire amount because they figure it's going to cost like $31,000. But I mean, that's part of running a track is is doing is budgeting and getting clay and all of that stuff. I mean, you can't ask the fans to pay for all the expenses of running a track.
I thought that was quite interesting. I mean, I guess if you don't ask, the answer's always no.
Right. And
But
like I said, I mean, put it out there, and if some fans want to donate, fine. But if they're hoping that fans are going to cover a good majority of the cost, I think that's asking a lot.
Changa, you had a thought on this?
No, I just want to know how many truckloads of clay Bert's already purchased.
I have not purchased any.
That is bullshit. So, I've seen a lot of different things. I know Red Cedar Speedway, Hibbing, Grand Rapids, a lot of tracks, they just do a fundraiser, right? Coordinate some stuff, do a raffle, get some people out selling tickets. You can generate $30,000. I'm not going to say it's easy, right? But you can generate with a little bit of elbow work. And I don't know, that's a club run deal over there, and it's a fairgrounds track, isn't it, Shano? Is that the fairgrounds?
Yeah, it's well, I guess it's club run. I mean, yeah, it's the races are run by the Egg Society. The Egg Society oversees the races, and the fair board oversees the Egg Society.
I would have
And
to think grants would be available somehow, but that I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, like I said, it's April 3rd, and they want to add clay, and so they just put this out there now, and I don't know.
Pretty tall task in a short period of time. But I mean, let's face it, Cedar Lake has added clay in the years for years, right? Literally midweek, during the season. And if you work it properly, if you know what you're doing, they can make it work. I mean, everybody thinks in their mind, oh, if you add clay and you just go racing, it's going to be rough as hell.
Well,
Well, not always true. If you know what you're doing, you can do it pretty quickly.
and I'm by no means am I a expert on dirt tracks, how to prepare a dirt track,
That is bullshit, Bert. You have
how
a
everything goes
podcast.
together.
You are
But
now an expert.
but some people made this point. Okay, if the clay if the dirt that's on there now is not clay and there's a lot of sand in it, if you only want to add 4 inches, you got to mix that together with what's currently on the track. So you're kind of gonna have the same situation then.
Yeah.
For sure. You have to the right way to do it is you add so much, you disc it in, you mix it, you pack it, so you're kind of tilling it in together. But I guess we'll see what happens, right? We'll see. Hopefully the racetrack's good. And let's face it, there was a lot of dust over there last year. The track was
Yeah.
not great, and Chonga's going
Well,
kind of giving us the rough
Yes,
track
that's
deal.
what we want, baby.
Boy, that would be better than racing on rubber. I'll be honest with you. Give me a
See,
little chop as a spectator. It's hard on equipment, I get it,
well,
but
and it is, at least they recognize they have a poor surface right now and
mhm.
they have to do something. Um, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it'll turn out all right. They'll figure it out. They'll find a way to make it work. So let's jump into this. So we got a little topic here, end of the first quarter of the season, right? We're just getting. Go ahead, Bert.
Well, we were talking about diecasts earlier, and
Mm,
I just remembered something. I made this prior, but somebody else wanted one, so I made another one. But this is Pete Parker's first ever race car.
nice,
So
nice. That's quality. So he not just will do your current car. I've seen you do a lot of vintage stuff too. So
oh,
that is definitely very cool.
I love the vintage stuff.
100. Yeah, that's because we're vintage now,
Well,
right? So that's
there is
probably
truth to that.
that is definitely it.
we're
So
never going to be as vintage as Bert.
that is true. That is true. He's the old guy in the group, right? That he's
Yes.
kind of here to keep us out of trouble. Doesn't
I
work,
mean,
but
apparently Kraus
he
is
tries.
playing the old guy this week, but
Yeah, Kraus is hopefully he's not in a wheelchair or walker. I'm not really sure.
yeah.
So surprises and disappointments from the first quarter of 2025. So let's start with surprises. And so disappointments, that will leave the negative for last, but positive positive or just in general, like holy shit, that was a surprise. So surprises from the first quarter of the year. Bert, will go to you first, then Changa, and then I'll, if you guys I'll go third. So Bert, surprises from the first quarter of 2025.
Well, he ran strong at the end of last year, but he would always come up short for the victories. But I mean, his victories this year seem like a lifetime ago because they happened, earlier in the year. But Garrett Elberson, he's had a strong start to the year. He's gotten some victories in the national series. So that, I guess, maybe it's not a huge surprise, but he did make it to victory lane.
He's due for a big year. He's got a tall task racing against. I mean, that field right now in Lucas Oil late models is clearly, in my opinion, above what the World of Outlaws is. So, but yeah, he's really turning up the wick a little bit, and sounds like he's a favorite there from a lot of the drivers. So, we'd like to see him hit that double digit mark. Think he can do it? You think he can hit double digits, Bert?
In the national series?
Well, we'll just go in general, because he'll run some regional stuff too. But what's he got now? Three,
Two
two
for
or
sure.
I'll
two
t-
or
I'll take
three?
I'll take the under on 10.
Why do you gotta be so negative all the time? Good Lord, man! You give the guy some praise, and you're like, no, he sucks. He can't hit 10. Screw this guy. All right. So 10's tough. Not a lot of people hit 10 in a year. Let's just face it. I mean,
Yeah.
so hitting 10 is tough, but it'd be cool to see. Mixing some regional stuff in there. I don't think he'll hit 10 Lucas. Maybe, but I don't think so. But we'll see what happens. Anybody else on surprises before we jump over to Changa?
You can go to Changa. I don't want to take all of
Right, right.
them.
Wasn't even on my list, and it's a good answer.
It was. What do you got there, Changa?
I guess my first one is Aaron Reitzel.
Yeah.
Guy's been running really strong lately. Took a rock through his mask, broke his nose, stitches in his head, and then he just comes back and wins like 2 of the next 4. Um, Tanner Holmes, I believe that's his name, Tanner, right? He's been running really strong.
He
Ricky,
has been bad luck. He's had a little bit of like he's on the podium and then a tire or something dumb. But you're right, that 21 car's been really good.
Ricky Weiss is having a bounce back year after a couple of down years. He's won 2 races already, a couple of decent paying. I believe a 10 and a 15. He's 2 points out of the lead in the Hunt the Front Tours point standings. And, so Ricky Weiss is having a good start. Josh Rice, couple of top 5s in the Lucas Oil series, along with some wins. So he's been good. And then I guess the only other thing I have is just Infinity by Wells Chassis in general. They've been made a step. They're making a name for themselves, and quite honestly, have probably passed up Rocket.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Gustin's been quick, and Marlar jumped into that Infinity, and instantaneously he was in the top 5 both nights with it. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. I'm gonna go Logan Schuhart. Boy, last year seemed like a down year, right? Overall, I think he had a couple good nights in there, but overall, it was a pretty rough year. But right now, he's 3rd in points in World of Outlaw sprint car action. In 13 shows, he's got 8 top 5s. It seems like he's always in contention. I looked at him in the past as like this guy here, big half-mile guy, but he's been good kind of in all areas. Not as good as David Gravel, who's been literally just write the check, right? The World of Outlaw Sprint Car Championship. If it's not gravel, it's because he quit racing halfway through the season for whatever reason. He has been absolutely dominant all year long in that too. Another surprise, and not surprised that he's doing good, but Cade Dillard. Cade Dillard, who was basically a World of Outlaw late model guy, right? Started out the season, going to run with the Outlaws again. And then the Outlaws made a interesting decision that basically they talked to all the drivers earlier in the year and they said, look, when the weather looks bad, we're not going to have you traveling all the way across the country for one race. We're not going to do that. And he's like, well, first quarter of the year, they did it twice. He goes, and it's different for him. Remember, he lives in frickin' Louisiana. He don't live over around where all these tracks are. Everything's a long drive. So he was a little bit perturbed by that. And it's like, I'm not driving up into that weather to get one race in. Made the decision to go race the modified. And obviously he's been very, very fast in that modified. But Dillard I want to say probably moving his focus from late models to the modified division is kind of a surprise to me. So disappointments to start the first quarter here of 2025. Other than Coach Kraus ditching us on 2 straight shows, other than that, okay, Bert, what do you have for disappointments?
Looking at the Lucas oil standings, with Bishop going back into the Rocket House car, you kind of expected that he was going to be running near the front, and so far that is not the case. And the former Rocket House car driver isn't doing a whole lot either this year, Hudson O'Neill. So those would be 2 surprises.
We'll talk a little bit more about Hudson O'Neill in a minute, but Sheppy, just to give some context for some people maybe looking for a couple stats, in 27 races, guys, he has 6 top 5s. 4 of them came in his first 5 shows at Vado. Since Vado, he literally has 2 top 5s in his last, I guess it would be in his last 21 attempts. And he did get 3rd the last night out at Makokata, but boy, yeah, that was in the B5. Yeah, that was, and it wasn't Vado. Vado was in the B5 as well, right?
I was going to say, I think Vado was a B5.
So for sure, at a minimum, I don't know about the other one, but at a minimum, 5 of his 6 top 5 finishes are in the family-owned B5. So he has been a complete non-factor in the Rocket One house car. So wow, I didn't even think about the fact that the B5. That's kind of big. Changa, what do you got for disappointments?
Well, I got to tell you, my list said Brandon Shepard and Hudson O'Neill. All right. So I guess I'm going to have to throw one off the hip, I guess. And it's not that he's been a disappointment, not that he hasn't been okay, but I guess I'll go to Overton, right? Figure, he's what we consider an elite or a high-end race car driver getting into a big-time ride. He has won a couple, or at least one. He won one last weekend, but he was in the hunt a few times, but he has yet to contend with the Morans or the Davenports or the Thorntons. So and he'll get there, I'm sure, but to this point, he has not yet.
Well, I would say if you put the two house cars side by side, right? The Longhorn house car with Overton, the
Yes.
Rocket house car, of course, with Sheppy, I don't think it's close, right? Overton is kind of light years above him, in my opinion, as far as at least looking the part. So, yeah, we'll see if he can kind of have a resurgence. I'm gonna go sprint cars here since I figured you guys would go late models. I'm gonna go
Okay.
Donnie. I'm gonna go Donnie Schatz.
Oh, it's not
Um,
good.
boy, is he struggling. One top five, and it was a fifth in 13 races. Now let's not sleep on the fact that the series is split, right? I mean, we got the high limits guys. We got so you don't even have like what 3 years ago was considered a full series of cars. So and they got out of the Ford deal. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. He struggled mightily the first night out with the Chevy, but Donnie Schatz right now just not looking like he's overly competitive, which that's our guy, right? He's the Midwestern representative, former WISSOTA champ. If there's anybody that I want to see win races in the world of outlaw sprint cars, it's Donnie Schatz. That's the guy I pull for. But boy, he just I don't know. I mean, we talked about this a couple times over the last few years. I mean, everybody has an age cliff. Everybody does. It does not matter. Everybody's got that age cliff. Do you think he's kind of tiptoeing on the edge of that deal right now? Do you think he made a step over? I mean, do you think, 10-time champion in the world of outlaws, he's not going to go back to that, right? I mean, age catches up with everybody. But do you think he can get back to being a guy that can contend and maybe win 10 features a year? Or are those days gone?
Well,
I'm not willing to say those days are gone yet, but I mean, I agree with you. Eventually Father Time catches up with everybody, and there nobody has won that battle. And
Dale McDowell says bullshit, but
well,
other than that,
that's a good point. That is a good point.
yeah, we'll see. So good luck to Donnie Schatz. Hopefully he can turn this deal around. Changa, what do you got there, buddy?
yeah. I mean, Donnie can't bang the boards like he used to be able to do it, right? We all know that. Father Time just takes that crazy kid out of you, right? But I'm not so sure that they haven't been trying to reinvent the wheel since his skills have dropped off a little bit. They're running different shock packages than everybody else. They're running different engines, been trying to read or trying to develop an engine for years. And some people say this thing's too torquey, the torque curve's not too good. We don't know what the truth is on that, but what I can tell you is he's running different shocks than everybody else, and shocks is kind of a big deal. I mean, probably more so than the engine. The shocks are probably more important. And I feel like maybe when his drop off started to happen, they tried to find some things that they could gain an advantage on and probably maybe even push themselves further behind.
You know, Kraus actually mentioned that last year. He said if you're in chase mode, and right now David Gravel's the mark in World of Outlaws. It's not close, and everybody's trying to catch him. And if you're in that mode of like, how do we try to keep up with him? You always take a couple steps back before you figure it out. And maybe that's where they're at. I believe. I'm not positive, but I think his crew chief left and is with Rico now. So that was a change as well. I don't know if that happened in the offseason this year or last year, but I think it was this year. So he had some changes in his crew as well. And speaking of Rico, we could probably add him to the list. Now, I get it. He had surgery, right? So I think both wrists he had surgery on, and he started a little bit later than about everybody he's racing against. And he does have some top fives in there. But he, when I was down in Arizona, he just didn't look super fast. And Bert told me this, and this is something that he's preached forever. You get domesticated, it's over. That's what happened to Sheppy, right? Rico got married in the off season. He's now slow, right? Let that be a warning out to everybody. You get overly domesticated, slows you down. Changa was my crew chief, said cuddling makes you slow. I'm just saying, okay?
You got to stop that.
I'm just saying. I
You were cuddling. That was the problem.
I'm just saying. I listened to you back in the day. and it worked. That was good advice.
It's
I don't
similar.
make up the rules. I don't make up the rules. All right, so let's give a shout out here to one of our sponsors, Daytona One Performance Lubricants, greatest in the industry. I tell you what, that lubricants industry, massive, lots of applications. Everything from engine oils to power steering fluid, tranny fluid, to gear oils, to assembly lube, to tire treatments, you name it. Buck, the founder of Daytona One, in the Hall of Fame at NASA for lubricants. So don't take my word for it. This guy knows what he's talking about. Highly, highly intelligent individual. But if you want to learn more about their great products, go ahead and give Chad a call, 507-828-3536. He's a regional rep. You can find him on Facebook. You can find him, of course, online, Daytona One Performance Lubricants. And this is the time of year all the, I guess, area tracks are looking to open up. And all the racers in our area, they have a lot of tires probably left over from 2024 that you can actually use on practice nights. A lot of tracks have a test night or two before the season opens up. And let's face it, you don't want to put new rubber on for a practice night. I'm just not interested in throwing, that kind of money away to go testing. Most weekend warriors don't have that kind of money. But why not get some of the Daytona One products, liven those tires up, the used ones? Because Changa, you know as well as I do, if you take an old tire that's all dried out, you might as well not go to practice because it's not going to do anything, right? So get some Daytona One products, treat your old tires that you're going to use at practice. So when you do go do some testing, you can get some real data and actually get a good feel for what the car is. And that is something, because technically it's not legal to use the tire treatment products in WISSOTA racing. It just isn't. But they do have a cleaner that you can use. But there is a great application here for them in those test nights, those practice nights, your hot lap tires, different things like that. So give Chad a call. Daytona One Performance Lubricants. So guys, this past week we took off, missed a week on the show because I went down to Arizona, and actually the reason I went last week, my dad was talking to him. He's like, well, shit, high limits are coming to town. I'm like, oh man, I forgot about that. Well, let's do that, right? So we went down there, and a few of us went over to the Central Arizona Raceway for the high limit sprint cars, and we went night one. We didn't go both nights. We did watch them both nights, but we didn't go both nights. A few takeaways I got from that event. Number one, in person, right? And Bert, you said this, you can see different things in person than you see online, right? Because you're there. I'm here to tell you, Brad Sweet is far better than every other driver in that series, and it's not close. Now, he only got fourth the night I was there, but victim of circumstance, couple of yellows bit him or whatever. But him searching around on the racetrack and moving lines and changing lines, and just the way that he kind of manipulates where people go on the track to try to pass him, there's a reason that he won so many World of Outlaw championships in the high limits last year. Brad Sweet is definitely the cream rising to the top in that series. It's without question. And in person, it's definitely even more visible. Then I noticed, guys, so they come out for the feature, right? 24 car A main. How many cars had a brand new right rear on going out for the A main at Central Arizona Raceway? Bert, any guesses?
Well, I know the answer because you told me.
Zero, right? So I'm sitting there thinking I'm pretty smart. I'm going, boy, they must all be running scuffs, right? Track's a little abrasive. They're running scuffs. Well, talked to my buddy Kevin, and he said, no, them and the World of Outlaw sprint cars, they have that rule. And the late models did this for some series, but I don't think they're doing it now. They're not doing it now in World of Outlaw for sure. But the sprints in the late model, or sprints for both series, whatever tire you qualify with, whatever set of tires, you end the night with that same set. I'm like, makes sense, because I'm here to tell you, we bitch about the cost of tires in WISSOTA racing. Take a look, do your own research, take a look at what it costs for a right rear for a sprint car, and you'll about shit yourself. It is insane how much money those are. So in order to kind of try to keep it viable for the lower dollar teams, that's a really good rule to keep in place, because you know as well as I do, Casey Kane Racing with the 49 car, they'd have brand new tires on every time they go on the track if they were allowed to, and they're not. Changa?
Well, and that's really strange, right? Because you go out there for qualifying, in theory, you would think, all right, I'm going out there with the softest tires money can buy because I just need to turn 2 quick laps, right? And now we got to be aware of this, and we're not even running softs in qualifying to turn a good lap because these are the tires we have to run in the feature. I find that kind of interesting because they're probably going out realistically with harder tires in qualifying than they are in the heat race.
Yeah, correct. I was surprised by that. I think it's a great rule, and quite honestly, I mean, in something like that where you have 30 cars on a given night, a big night they have might buy 40, 50, it would be very tough to police on a local level. But with the cost of racing today, okay, with the cost of tires, and we've gone over the whole tire deal, right? It's essentially right around $160 for a tire for a Midwest Mod Super Street, right? A modified in Wissota racing, right around there, give or take. Okay. Well, there's a lot of them races, guys, where it's $300. B mod street stocks get paid 200, 250, $300 to win. Well, holy crap, you start looking at what it costs for tires, fuel to get there, entry fee to get in, you win the feature, you're losing up $300, $400 if you win the feature, right? Do you think, I mean, I get it. And first thing I'll say is this, it is very difficult for racetracks to find help. It is very difficult to find help. But if they were able to find help, or maybe with Soda 100 and stuff like that, is this a good rule? Is this something that you can see adopted on a local level to try to keep the cost of racing down? That here's the deal: we're going to mark your tires at the beginning of the night. You run them are the four you run in the feature. You don't get heat tires and feature tires. Would that be a good thing, bad thing? What do you guys think?
I mean, to keep the costs down, I think it's a good rule. I mean, because even locally, I mean, the top drivers in each division, look at them at the start of the feature. They all have brand new tires on, and it would be a good rule to try to keep costs down.
Yeah, they got to do something, guys. I talked to a pure stock guy here just recently, and his tire budget was between $4,000 and $5,000 on the year for pure stocks, and they get paid anywhere between $100 and $200 to win the feature. It's unbelievable. So I mean, they got to do something logistically. I get it. If I was a racetrack promoter, I'd be like, "You're out of your mind. I can't find somebody to actually take tickets to get in the gate, let alone find somebody to keep track of everybody's tires." So easier said than done, for
Well,
sure.
obviously you're going to have tires that get flattened or tires that get gouged. And it's like, hey, I don't know that this thing can even make it through a race. So there's got to be some sort of leeway on them types of situations. But I mean, we could all make the argument like, we'd go back to the pits where it can take a knife, put a little carve in the sidewall, say, hey, I don't trust this. I need to put a new one in.
Yeah, there's always ways around everything, but I think maybe something to look at, maybe something for promoters to talk about. So, Bert, so the cars are coming across after the feature, right? We're sitting off a turn 4 there, and the cars are coming by us as they exit, and I see these little red lights in the center of the tire, like right at the hub on the left rear. I assume the right rear had the same thing. And the first guy that went by, I'm like, fucking guy's got traction control. What's he got going? Like, I had no idea what's going on. Like, what the hell is that? Right. So I texted my buddy. I'm like, what are those little red lights? Have you seen those on the sprint cars when they go by, the little red lights in the hubs?
I have
Um,
not.
I was super curious, so I'm like, what are those? Electronic air bleeds is what they are. So when the tires get too much air in them, it kind of deflates them down. They can regulate how much air pressure they have in their rear tires. So, boy, the technology in these things just unbelievable. Yeah, kind of crazy, kind of crazy. So, learned a little bit. I believe I learned a little bit. My sources at least told me that I learned a little bit here about that. We've heard about the charter system and the high limits. They're kind of bragging about that a little bit, and talked to some people affiliated with World of Outlaw teams. Okay, and let's just face it, the World of Outlaws and the high limits are like water and oil. They do not coexist in a friendly manner. It is a bad blood between them two entities. Okay, but from what I understand, so they got the charters, the top 5 in points from 2024 automatically got charters moving forward. Then it's going to be a 2-year average for the next 5, and they're going to have charters, and they get extra money at the end of the year. But what I was told is the World of Outlaw group seems to think that this is actually replacing tow money. And I'm like, well, that's not good, right? Because what if you're a non-chartered driver? What if you're a 12th place, 13th, 15th place in points guy, but you want to follow the series? If you're not a chartered driver, now you don't get tow money, and you're not going to be eligible for the charter money at the end of the year. That's a bad deal. So World of Outlaw sprint cars, guys, for every time, if you're one of the tour drivers, every race you go to, you get $1,000. Now, if it's a double header, like Cotton Bowl had 2 races back to back at the same track, day 2 you get 500. Okay, but if it's track A and then track B, you get 1,000 at track A, you get 1,000 at track B. That's toll money above and beyond whatever you get paid for that night, assuming you qualify for the feature, not using a provisional, because there's some different things there. But if you add that up, I mean, if you add up just the toll money alone, guys, that's like $60,000, 60 grand. So if you're a lower dollar team in the high limits and they're basically taking all of that away from you, that is a massive, massive hit if that's actually the case. And the World of Outlaw guys that I talked to said they think this is a bad deal for a lot of the smaller market teams, that you're going to see some of them switching over to World of Outlaws. Changa.
Well, they did talk about this on Dirt Tracker Daily. And, the gentleman that runs that, he was doing some research on it as well. And what he said, and I can't confirm or deny whether it's true or not, your teams that are not your charter members are still going to get their toll money. Your teams that are charter members, the way I understood it, and I could be wrong on this, the toll money is a portion of their charter dollars. So
the charter teams get no toll money during the year.
well,
they just get it at the end.
They get no toll money, it just goes into their charter.
Right.
And I believe that, and I'd have to re-listen to it, but I believe that they're gonna do every year. It's a 2-year deal, I believe, the way I understand it. And, needless to say, if you stay in the top 5, you stay in the charter. You can also, a team owner can also sell a charter. If Rico decides to quit racing, they can keep it with a new driver, or they can choose to sell this to another team. You're essentially, a charter member of High Limits. But long story short, they still, the way I understand it, they're still going to pay their toll money to their other teams. But there's some extra spiffs and things involved for the teams that are charter members.
So here's the deal, right? Here's the deal with this is they have been, it's like clear as mud. The whole deal is clear as mud, right? Because they came out, they talked about it, and like nobody knew what the hell they were talking about, right?
It's great, but
so I'm talking to World of Outlaw teams, and the World of Outlaw teams have in their mind that no, everybody's getting screwed out of the toll money. Well, if that's the case that they're not, they just haven't done a very good job of communicating that. I mean, if they want to get some of them World of Outlaw guys to switch their way, they need to be, I don't know. I think maybe they jumped at, like, because they wanted to announce it before the season started. They jumped at getting all the information out there before having all the information in hand. So I guess we'll over the coming months, it'll probably clear itself up a lot. But right now, the World of Outlaw group seems to think there's a lot more questions than answers. Bert?
Well, I mean, if High Limit, if they would get rid of the toll money, World of Outlaw teams would never switch over because they wouldn't have a charter, so they're not going to get any extra money. They're not going to get the charter money or the toll money, so there'd be absolutely no incentive for any World of Outlaw driver to switch over. Now, when Changa said that you can sell charters, now a World of Outlaw team could buy a charter, I guess, if they wanted to make the switch.
If they want, if they wanted to sell it, if that team was getting out.
Right.
How much of this do you think is coming from World Racing Group and World of Outlaws, of maybe playing the political game and kind of spreading maybe miscommunication within their drivers? being like, that deal's a bunch of bullshit. Like this is bad for everybody. How much of what the drivers are getting in World of Outlaws do you think is coming from WRG trying to confuse them a little bit so they don't think the grass is greener on the other side?
Well, I'll be honest. I mean, I feel like High Limits done this to themselves. I mean, I feel like they did it in too short of order. They weren't organized and detailed enough in their explanation of everything they're doing. And I couldn't even tell you if the High Limits guys even totally understand it. I mean, they interviewed David Gravel about it, and he's like, yeah, this sounds interesting. This sounds good, but I don't know if it's good. Nobody really freaking knows that when they were doing when they had an interview with Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson sitting up there, and Sweet did all the talking, and I just feel like it was just lacked planning. Like Rico wasn't even there when they're handing out the awards for the first 5 charter teams. He wasn't even at the meeting. Some of the teams were, some of them weren't. And I don't know if I don't even know if the High Limit guys totally understand it. So, of course, the World Racing Group's going to totally try to spin it like this is a shit show, because it is, and and it just makes them look much more organized, and their drivers feeling good about where they are.
That is absolutely true, and that is a thing, right? David Gravel, mentioned that. He said jury's still out. We'll see what it looks like down the road. And Brad Sweet, every question they asked him, he literally just talked in circles, like he had no answer for anything. It's like, this is a bad deal. So I'm looking at that going, this has to be more put together by Kyle Larson than it is by Brad Sweet, because Brad Sweet kind of seemed clueless in the deal. He really did. And so I guess that's something to kind of monitor as we move forward. And the last thing there, the improvements. So I watched racing. I went to the races at Central Arizona last year, and there was no wall, bad lighting, just kind of, it was okay, just kind of a fairgrounds type track, right? Nothing special, just a fairgrounds track. Holy shit, is that place renovated? I mean, they could wall around it, catch fence. I mean, brand new grandstands on one end. They got a whole concourse. I mean, I am absolutely flabbergasted at how much work they did in a short period of time. And I don't know if you noticed watching the races, there's only one way on, one way off the track. It's in the middle of the front straightaway, and the wall's tapered. So they have a wall all the way around it, but there's no way to hit a wall opening anywhere, which is really good thinking there. Very well put together. They do need to get better lighting, pretty dark. Sound system probably can be improved. And like the national anthem, it cut out twice on that poor girl singing the national anthem. Kind of cool moment though, because the whole crowd took over and finished off the national anthem. That's always kind of fun when that happens. But holy shit, how do you guys feel about bats?
Are we talking baseball or animals?
Like rats with wings, bats.
Did you guys, by chance, and I'm hoping you did, Weber Valley Speedway posted a picture of their bats today?
Did they? I have not seen it.
I didn't see it.
Oh, it was a pterodactyl.
So at Central Arizona Raceway, there had to have been 500 to 1,000 bats flying from underneath the grandstands, like swooping around. It was horrifying. I hate bats. The only thing I hate worse than bats is snakes. And I talked to somebody, they're like, yeah, they got bats here all the time. I'm like, I get, it's better than mosquitoes. They eat the mosquitoes, better than mosquitoes. But you're in Arizona, there's no water, so I'm assuming there's probably not a lot of mosquitoes there anyway, just a hunch. But I was kind of flabbergasted by that. So you talked about Reitzel already. I know the high limits, Bert, you kind of mentioned you did have a question. High limits are coming to Wisconsin.
Yeah. I mean, they're coming to 141 Speedway. I think it's June 3rd, June 2nd or 3rd. And then they're going to Red Cedar Speedway, I believe, that same week. But when they're at 141, there are going to be no support classes. It's only going to be the high limit sprint cars racing there. And I did check Red Cedar's website. On their schedule, it says support classes to be determined. So I don't know if they're going to have support classes or not at Red Cedar, but they're not having any at 141. So, my question is, I mean, I'm going. I mean, Kyle Larson's supposed to be racing there, but it's $45 general admission, $50 for reserved. Well, they're all reserved, but I mean, you can actually have a reserved seat. $45, you don't have a reserved seat, but you can buy your ticket ahead of time. But it is high limit sprint cars worth $50 by themselves with Kyle Larson racing.
Boy, that's a good question. I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder, right? So there's double-edged sword there. If you have a support class and you get too many of them, it drags the program out, right? These are weekday shows too.
Mhm.
The Wisconsin, so they're weekday shows. So if you bring in a support class and you get 30 of them, now you got way more racing on the track, burn up the track, more cautions. Now you're there and people are complaining that, holy crap, we're here all night. So there's that. On the flip side, it's like, well, I mean, you're probably going to get 3 heats, maybe 4, a B main, a dash, and a feature. Is that worth it? And the only class of cars that can get away with that, Bert, is sprint cars. They can do Lucas Oil late models. A lot of times they don't have support classes either. I don't think their tickets are typically quite as high as a sprint car show. But for whatever reason, you say outlaw sprint cars or 410 sprint cars, plate's going to be packed regardless. It's going to be a packed house. So I don't know. I mean, they put on a good show and they kind of keep everybody entertained. They had no support class in Central Arizona either, and they kind of kept the flow going. They have the whole concourse. They have they do the redraw deal down there with the spinning the wheel. They have the Durst dice roll deal where they bring a fan down. So they kind of keep you somewhat entertained and occupied during the downtime, and they kind of keep it moving pretty quick, during the track prep. So boy, you'll have to tell us when you get done if you
Yeah.
feel like it was worth it.
Well, I mean, a couple of years ago, I went to the World of Outlaw sprint car show at Beaver Dam, and they had 25 sprint cars. I mean, luckily they had 2 support classes, but I mean, if you only have 25 sprint cars, that's not a lot of racing. Hopefully, I was going to check the IRA schedule. Hopefully, IRA has doesn't have anything scheduled against them, and hopefully they get quite a few IRA sprint cars to show up there.
My guess is it's weekday, right? So
Yeah,
if it
it's
was
a
a
weekday.
weekend, yeah, if it was
Yeah.
a weekend, they probably would have something going on. But I would assume that you'll see a bunch of them IRA guys jumping over there in the middle of the week. So one can hope. Speaking of attending that race down there, so I got a question. This is an ongoing topic. We talk about this every year, but I just kind of had some thoughts. It was rattling around in my brain. But the discussion of watching an event streamed online versus watching an event in person. And that could be for any sport, right? That could be racing, football, baseball, anything, right? And people are like, well, it's always way better being there. Well, I don't know if that's true anymore, right? I don't know if that's true. So I went to a baseball game. We'll start there. We went to the Cubs versus, and Bert's like, oh, fuck the Cubs because you're a Brewers fan. I get it. But we went to the Cubs versus the Athletics, and the Cubs got their asses kicked. Preseason game, right? Spring training, Cactus League down there. Place was packed. Only had a couple of them left. It was the only thing that made it entertaining was the people we went with because we were kind of bullshitting the whole time. And anything you go to is kind of who you go with, and you make the most of it that way. But literally, I'm telling you what, their play-by-play announcer, they didn't have a play-by-play because it's in person. It was like, now up, number 14, Burt Lehman. And that was it. That's like the only thing that you heard from the crowd other than the 7th inning stretch you had the take me out to the ball game. I'm like, if I was just going to watch the game, not going with some people and interacting and having a good time, but if I was just going and I wanted to spectate that game, I would never go. I would never go in person ever. There's no way. It would have been so awful, right? But going there with a group of people that's what made it better. Well, you think about the same thing in racing. Let's bring this back to racing because we're a racing podcast, and the question's always been, well, is streaming hurting racing? Is streaming hurting local attendance? You hear that all the time. And I don't really know if there's a right or wrong answer specifically to that question, but we got, what makes each one better, right? If you look at in person, and I got a list here, but I want you guys to off the cuff, right? And I want you to sell me right now. why, okay, why it would be better to attend a race in person versus watching it online. Okay. I want you to you sell me on that. It's $45 to $50 for a ticket to the high limit race at 141. You're going. Okay. But you could stay home and you could watch it online. You could do that. We watch a lot of races online already. Why is it better to be there than it is to just watch the race online? Bert, you go first.
Well, this is the thing I always say about this is you're not restricted to watch what the camera is showing you. You get to watch what you feel is the most exciting action during the race.
Okay. Yep. Okay, I'll cross that out. So you can watch whoever you want. Because it can't if you're watching streaming, you're limited to what they're showing you. That's fair enough. Okay. What are some other reasons?
Or are we going back and forth, or am I just saying?
Yeah, we can. I mean, Changa, you want to go and then we can kind of go around the loop.
I'll go then, give Bert a little break. So, going to the racetrack, all right, aside, take the money out of the equation because, you know, you've got your streaming, it's paid for, you got it for the whole year. But so it cost me $45 to go to the racetrack. If I go to the racetrack, I'm going to run into 50 people that I know and have a good, good conversation. I'm gonna be happy to see some people I don't necessarily see all the time. There is absolutely no replacement for the smell. There's no replacement for the noise. And God damn it, you better go out to the pits after the races and meet some drivers, talk to some people, shake some hands, and have some interaction. If you ain't gonna do that, stay the frick home and watch it on streaming, right?
That's exactly it. And when we get to the streaming, I'm going to talk about that. But you're exactly right. So the people, essentially, it's the people. You go in there, kind of the culture of the people. You're able to visit. It's who you're there with. I'll say JR. I was talking to my buddy JR, and he said, "Well, the sounds, the smells, and I don't have good sensory with my nose. I got deviated septum and all that, so I can't smell worth a shit. Sometimes that's a good thing, right?" But he said one of his favorite things going to the racetrack is just racetracks have a certain smell, right? And kind of the smell of the popcorn and the race gas and the tires and just all of it, right? And the different sounds and just all of that different stuff. So kind of the senses, so to speak. So Bert, what do you got next?
You get a better sense of the actual speed of the cars when you're there in person versus watching it on the stream.
That is absolutely valid. That is true. The cars definitely look, especially if you're at a track where the grandstands are close to the track, then it's really fast. If you're far away, not so much. Changa,
I mean, there's no replacement for the excitement of the crowd, right? If you actually have a crowd, I mean, and we're probably going to discuss that later, of if you can count the amount of people in the stands on, if you can count them, that's not good. But if you're in a packed grandstands and you've got, you know, 82 people cheering for this guy and 165 cheering for that guy and 36 cheering for, just the roars and the excitement of everybody who's got their guy and cheering and standing up and sitting down and the oohs and the ahs. I mean, it's there's no replacement for that.
I don't think the rivalries are what they used to be because of the
Even it's just
track.
everybody has a
Yeah,
right. Everybody has a favorite.
right. The track, the track points aren't quite as relevant as they were, say, back in the 90s, right? And a lot of times you had them built-in rivalries because of the points and all that. And but when that
But
was a case, boy, that was definitely a part of that. Energy was huge. Bert?
but not even necessarily the rivalries. Like Chongo was talk. If it's a close race and the drivers are going back and forth, the crowd is stand. People will be standing on their feet, and just the excitement of the crowd.
Some crowds, I've watched some races, and you're like, everybody there's 65 to 70 years old and older. They can't stand up, right? So I don't know about in Shawano, but up in Hibbing and our area, the average age of the crowd is really high. They have struggled to get the 20, 30-year-olds into the races to kind of have that same energy. And that's a
Superior has sections of people that cheer for certain people.
yep, yep. Yeah, they do. And then I'll go with the vendors, right? I mean, you got at certain events, you got vendor row, and you can go down and you have some of that stuff. So essentially, that's the reasons why. Now, sell me on this. Why should we watch it online instead of just going to the races?
Well, I'll tell you, and I do this quite frequently. I live in Superior. I got Gonda Claw Superior Speedway in my backyard. It's literally 2 miles from my house. I can sit on my patio at the bonfire. I can eat food for, 1/10 of the price. I can have an adult beverage if I so desire for 1/10 of the price. I can watch it on my computer and still hear it in the background. It's the greatest thing ever. I'm sitting out there at the fire. I got a beer in one hand, a cheeseburger in the other hand. Got my bride over here looking beautiful, and everything's great. And everything they're doing on the screen, I can hear at the racetrack. Now, that ain't always the case, but it's definitely less expensive in the long run. And I don't have to get in my car if I had an adult beverage and drive. So, I mean,
Well,
obviously there are positives.
well, and speaking of driving, I mean, depending where you live and where the track, I mean, Changa's talking about a track 2 minutes away. Or, what if you want to see a race, but it's an hour and a half drive to get there. Um, if you watch the stream, it's like, okay, I can get yard work done. I can get an hour and a half more yard work done, and I can still watch the race. I can watch the stream.
And you don't have that hour and a half drive home,
Right.
right?
Right.
And you don't have the hour and a half drive there if the weather looks kind of shitty and all of a sudden you get there and
Yeah.
it rains out. You don't have that, right? So,
Go to another race, right? We'll just flip the channel to another race.
well, I was just going to add that one is if you're watching streaming at home, I've seen it and I've done it myself where you have multiple screens up, you have multiple different races on at one time, and you're like, okay, there's heats going on here, this feature's starting, they're doing track prep, and you're watching multiple events. Now, again, I've seen people do that at the racetrack too. Right, I've seen people with their phones on. Hey, you flip it on this race, I'll flip it on this race. So you can do that at the track as well.
Oh, oh,
Um,
I at the track, I've sat in the stands and had like the Lucas race on my phone, and during the caution, during the live race, I'll watch the Lucas race.
You know what I miss probably most when I attend in person versus attending at the just watching online, and this goes for NFL football, all of it, right? Is there's no play-by-play, right? 99% of racetracks, if they're announcing, they announce the lineup at the track, and then you can't hear anything over the
Right.
cars when they're racing. But when you're watching online, you're hearing the cars and the play-by-play and a really good. Now, let's face it, there's some announcers that are just awesome. There's some announcers that maybe are just not as good and everything in between. But the ones that are like top-notch announcers, they're not just telling you where the driver's from. They're telling you, hey, this is what he did last week, or he's trying to break this record, or he won this race last year, or whatever. And you're getting different, or they changed chassis brands, or they got a different engine, or they changed motors last night to get here, or the hauler broke down. They're telling you all this stuff, and it kind of eats up all that downtime, and you're really getting a whole different experience with the right announcer online than you do in person. NFL game, we all love the energy of going to an NFL game, but there's no play-by-play. There's no announcer, and I've grown to love that, and I feel like that's our generation because prior to our generation, you didn't have all that. There was barely any stuff on TV if you even had colored TV, right? And so much has gotten better on the streaming side of things in certain aspects that it's like, boy, oh boy. I mean, you weigh this out. Why would I want to go to the race when certain parts of the event is actually better watching it online? And it comes back to one thing. It's got to be the people and the culture. But anything else you want to touch on that? Any other thoughts that make it, if you had to sell me on streaming versus going, what would it be?
At the end of the day, if we want dirt track racing to survive, we need to get to the freaking racetrack and we need to bring a friend, right?
We do. We
And
do. I
not
agree.
bring friends, but we need to bring kids, right? We need to bring kids, and kids should get in free. And
Kids should get in free. It should be.
moms
I
and
like.
buy them a freaking hot dog, and that's going to benefit the racetrack. And my God, get to the racetrack, bring a friend, bring a kid, let's go. Because they need to
This
survive. It's because it's the greatest sport on earth, and we need to make it happen.
this is a slippery slope though, right? Because now you're essentially saying it's on the fan to be like, hey, you're obligated. If you want racing to continue, you got to go there. I'm going to look at it the other way, and I get it. I've been on both sides. I've been a fan, a driver. I've been on the promoting side. I've been on all aspects, right? So I'm not saying this is an easy deal, but promoters got to look at this deal and be like, okay, here's the challenges we're up against. What do we have to do to make it so that people want to come to our event? What do we have to do to get them there, right? What do we have to do to keep them there, keep them entertained? And a lot of people, there's certain promoters out there that have some pretty big vision. They're trying to do that at some different tracks, and as that happens, we'll talk about that. But that's the thing. I mean, you have to create that culture. Bert, how many times have you seen this where you get to a track and they got a big car count, and in your mind initially you're like, this is gonna be great. I got 150 cars here. It's gonna be awesome. But then their focus as a racetrack running an event, right, is holy shit, we got 150 cars here. We got to get this frickin' show in. We can't be here till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. That can't happen. Can't do that. Well, you have 6 classes of cars, all these cars, and literally it's bang, bang, bang. That race is done, next race starting. That race is done, next race starting. Well, what the problem I have with that is that only appeals to the diehard race fan that is like, I am just wanting to watch cars go in a circle. That's all I want to watch. That only appeals to them. When you have to rush a program through because of too many classes and all this stuff, that does not allow you to do all the other stuff that truly make an event. You know, how would you rank as far as importance at big events? You ain't gonna do this every week, but just the overall um announcing of the drivers. USA Nationals, right? How big on a scale of 1 to 10 on importance is the announcing of the A main at the USA Nationals? How big of a part of an event is that? Scale of 1 to 10 being it's like it matters, 1 being like it don't mean shit.
What do you mean the announcing of the
Turn
introductions
the
or
the introductions, turn the lights out,
okay?
all the cars on that deal. Yep,
Um, it's important if there's not a threat of weather.
fair enough. Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the thing. I mean, obviously weather, you got the main thing is the main thing. Weather's coming in, get the freaking show in
But no,
for sure.
if there's not a threat, I want to see the intros for the USA Nationals. Now, do I want to see those intros every week? At a weekly track? No.
No, no, not like that every week. No. But with that said, okay, so that's a big part of that, right? The announcers do a fantastic job. That's a production. That's part of the event itself. No different than the dome, right?
Makes it worth the $50 you spent to get in.
Yeah, correct. And yeah,
Fireworks, the lights up,
fireworks, all
it's
that.
it's everything. It's the
Correct.
production.
If you have too many classes, you can't do any of that, right? You look at some of these invitationals at the end of the year, guys, they got 10 freaking classes of cars. You're lucky if they can even announce the drivers' names before they start the race half the time. And it's like we're missing out on the whole production of an event here because we're focused on we got to get the race in, got to get the race in. I would say, would you guys agree if I said just have less classes and more production, still get it done in a timely fashion, but let's make this an event because if you don't have all that other stuff, right? There is literally zero reason for anybody to ever go to the racetrack if your only thing is watching cars go in a circle. That's it, right? And so I talked to Mike Gresseth last year, and he kind of dialed it back. He won a couple NLRA titles in a row, and last year he was running um, more of a limited schedule. And I said, well, how come you're doing that? And his answer was this. He says, we are going to primarily focus on going to events that are 2-day or 3-day at the same track. And I said, well, that's interesting. Well, why do you want to do that? He's like, when I bring the family, it's like camping. You're there during the day. You kind of have the culture, the camaraderie. He says, there's nothing that beats it. It's far better than just let's get to the races, race, go home. Get to the races, race, go home. And that's the same thing in the crowd. I'm looking at USA Nationals. Well, I got my tickets. Changa and I, and bringing my daughter Whitney. He's bringing his daughter Bert. I know you're going to be there. Puka will be there. We're going to the USA Nationals this year, Bert. We're going to be there. We got our camp spot and everything. We're set. We're ready to go. But what it made it appeal to me is like, okay, what do I want to go? Because I'm pretty limited on how many races I go to now as a fan. And nothing against like just the regular race night where you get to the races, watch, go home, that whatever. That if somebody loves that, that's great. I hope a lot of people love that. But for me, I can't. Changa mentioned earlier that you go to the races, you visit with people, you see people you haven't seen in a while. Well, if you get to the races right before race time, watch the races, go home right after, you just cut that whole piece of it out. That's done. That's not going to happen. So we're excited about going to the USA Nationals because we can spend 2-3 days there visiting with people that I haven't seen in a long time. I'm looking forward probably more to that than I am the racing itself, because I can watch racing online. I mean, that's not a big deal. We're mostly going down there for the people. But I wanted to talk about this because I know some promoters listen to this. Focus on that in 2025, right? Focus on that. Remember that it's not just cars going in a circle. This is a spectacle. This is an event. If you want more people to come to your venue, give them a reason to be there versus watching online. You can't do what Deer Creek's doing. I love Deer Creek, but you can't just be like, not streaming anymore. We're done streaming. You want to watch us? You got to come to the track. Well, give people a reason to do that, right? I mean, and Deer Creek, I love the place, freaking awesome racing, but you can't just like,
I can't go there, and it's 5 hours from my house.
yeah, you can't just cut it off cold turkey, because guess what? Those fans that were watching online, they're just going to watch a different racetrack online. Then they'll watch Lucas Oil, USMTS, whatever. So that's my thought.
USMTS will be on Race and Dirt.
It is on Racing Dirt. USMTS is
But when they go, the World Outlaws will be streamed.
Dirt Vision. Yep,
It's,
Dirt Vision.
they're
Correct.
the races we want to watch anyway.
Yep. So that's enough on the soapbox there. Let's give a shout out here to Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating, Ashland, Wisconsin, proud sponsor of the #1 series in Wissota Racing. That is the Northland Superstock Series in their 10th year this year. Pretty excited about that. Dennis has done a great job, but Fastlane Motorsports has a lot to offer. They do custom powder coating, sandblasting, fabricating, build the Galloper chassis. They sell parts. You can get them online. If you need parts, they'll mail order them right to you. But they can get you anything racing related: tires, aluminum, bodies, bumpers, shocks, you name it. They do it all. They can get you anything you need, and you're not going to meet a much better guy that's done a lot for a lot of people in dirt track racing than Chris over there at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating, right up in Ashland, Wisconsin. So, Bert, a little bit of dirt late model tidbits. Okay. I got $1 million question here we'll end with. Okay. But over the last couple weeks here, a little bit of dirt late model racing going on. Just give me a couple things that stuck out to you, a couple topics that you're like, yeah, this is kind of a couple takeaways I have from the last couple weeks. What do you got in the dirt late model world?
Well, Bobby Pierce is out to win a championship for sure. He's he's out to stick it to the rest of the competition because he is very tough this year so far, and that surprises me. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that he's winning, but I thought I thought he'd at least be challenged a little bit, but he hasn't even really been challenged yet this year, which is really surprising to me.
He was challenged in Volusia. That's not his best place, but once he left down there, yeah, he's been. It's going to be a bloodbath in the world of outlaw late models. That's for sure.
And I'm a little surprised at how how well RTJ is doing this year. I mean, last year, when he lost his ride, it was, well, was RTJ really that good of a driver, or was it the team? And then he struggled a little bit. I mean, he formed a new team in the middle of the year. I mean, struggling is to be expected. He still held on, won the championship, but he's back to the RTJ of old, with the team that they put together last year.
And they went 1-2 both nights at Makokata, right at the Nippy 50. Of course, Pierce coming out on top. I had a few people say RTJ was going to get him till he drove off the track. Stop it. That was not going to happen. Pierce was the faster car. RTJ was there in lap traffic, made a couple moves to the inside, but Pierce was the only way Pierce was going to lose that race is if he messed up in lap traffic. He definitely had the best car. Chonga, let me ask you this. Pierce wins both nights at Makokata, Nippy 50. Who promoted that event? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, Mr. Coker promoted the event.
Jeff Hoker Trucking. Yeah, Jeff Hoker.
Well, I'm sorry. Yeah, Jeff Hoker promoted it. The first night when Bobby won, former sponsor, no longer a sponsor, right? RTJ is one of his cars. Gustin's one of his cars. Shirley's one of his cars, along with a few other guys. After he won the first night, he went straight to Facebook and thanked Jeff Hoker for the great event and all these things. The second night, he's in Victory Lane trying to give an interview, and he's more concerned with shaking hands with Hoker and, thanking him and or whatever the hell is going on there. And, which leads me to believe that, the whole separation and this may be bullshit. I'm making this up, right? But it's probably more about Hoker's wife and her not liking Bobby than their relationship. But that's total conjecture, right? Just making that up.
Yeah, I have no idea if that's the case. I'm not going down that road. How bad do you think that when that got all said and done and Bobby did the part and shook hands and thank you and all that, honest, how bad do you think Hoker's blood was boiling when he got home away from that going, fucking kidding me? Like, of anybody that he didn't want to win that race, it had to have been Bobby Pierce, right? Like they pulled the sponsorship. That had to be the one guy that he's like, great, I'm glad you came over. I'm glad you supported it, all that. But first of all, he wants his guys to win. Second of all, there's no way he wanted Pierce to win, being that that's the guy that he used to sponsor.
Okay, so think about this for a second. Hoker sponsors that whole freaking deal down in Arizona, right? Pierce wins.
Victory Lane. Yeah.
Yeah, Pierce wins 4 out of 5, gets second the others, and then he wins both races this time. It's like, at this point, it's a Bobby Pierce fuck you tour. It's like, I'm gonna go to every one of your races, win them, so your cars can't.
So essentially, Hoker's still sponsoring Bobby Pierce. It just happens to be
very much so
winning checks. So
yeah, it's way or another.
Interesting stuff for sure. We talked a little bit about the Infinity, a couple guys switching chassis here. Marlar jumping in the Infinity. That's kind of noteworthy here. He's looking pretty sharp. A little bit of another switch here from Rocket, right? You got T-Mac and Brent Larson, the B1 Bomber, both making the switch from Rocket to Longhorn. And that really doesn't leave much anybody, right? There's not many Rocket drivers even out there, right? I mean, you got Turbo. I think Owens has a Rocket, but he has his own deal too. And of course, you got Sheppy. Josh Rice, I think he's in a Rocket. But boy, it's pretty limited. They're pretty lacking. Do you think that T-Mac and Brent Larson will perform the same, or do you think you'll see a little bit of an improvement from those drivers with the switch to Longhorn?
Can't get much worse, right? It can't. We could
Well,
put in a freaking pure stock, and they ain't gonna get much worse because they ain't been that great.
No, they haven't.
I think T-Mac will improve. I mean, he won his championship in a Longhorn, and he's more familiar with the Longhorn. And I mean, he even said last year in several interviews, they were doing things to that rocket that he would have never dreamt of doing setup wise. And so I think he's getting back into familiar territory.
Let me ask you this. They're both going to run World of Outlaws, it sounds like. Better chance of happening. T-Mac winning 3 World of Outlaw races, or Brent Larson getting 3 top 5s in World of Outlaw races in 2025?
It's T-Mac. It's definitely T-Mac.
I would go T-Mac also.
You guys are haters. It's a Minnesota boy right there. Bert, fuck Wisconsin. All right? That's a Minnesota guy right there. Boy, it's kind of a toss-up. I had somebody ask me that question. Who do you think is going to have a better opportunity here? T-Back winning races, Brent Larson finishing top 5, and boy, I think 3 wins is a tall task against the 32 in World of Outlaw Racing. I think that is going to be really tough. I gotta go. I think Brent Larson has a better chance of getting 3 top 5s in World of Outlaw Racing than T-Back does winning. I'll take Larson on that one.
I got an opinion on this. Okay, first of all, I want to know what you've been drinking tonight. Nothing. You got no answer.
I still got to drive tonight, so I got to plead the fifth. Now I'm drinking water.
So now is the time to give the quiz. Hey, Bert. Can you hear me, Bert? Nothing.
Hello, come in, Bert. Hello, come in.
Bert.
I'm right here.
Okay, all right.
So in the last since 2020 World Outlaw late model race, who has passed the most cars in World of Outlaw late models?
Is that how you want to word this question, Shanga, or can I word it
the most
differently?
positions, pass the most cars. You can word it however.
Bert, who in what? How many years?
I believe the question is since 2020.
Okay, since 2020, which driver has advanced the most positions in A mains from their original starting position in all of World of Outlaw late model races?
Brent Larson?
100%, and it's not close.
There you go.
Well, he's always starting in the back.
There is that. There is that. So you guys both took T-Mac for 3 wins. I'll take the B1 Bomber for 3 top 5s. I think his chances winning is a tall task with the 32.
I don't think either one's going to happen, just for the record.
Fair enough. So I had another guy ask me dirt late models, because we hear about arrow this, arrow push, arrow this, arrow that. Why don't they just literally fix the problem and get rid of the arrow issue, right? An example might be you take their 8-inch blade that they got on the back, and why not go with a 4-inch high by like 24-inch wide slot on both sides of the spoiler to make the air escape? Why not put like a 1-inch riser in the middle of the deck tin to disrupt the air? Do something with the nose. I think we all agree that the only way late model racing is good is if there's a cushion. They got to be banging the boards, and they got to be throwing sliders. That's when they're at their best, because the air is such a bad deal. They cannot run side by side anymore. Why not fix the problem, right? Now, remember, they've done it before. They can do it again. Back in the 80s, Bert, right? They had wedge late models, sideboards, big nose rudders. Air was a huge deal, right? And guess what? They ixnayed that whole deal, and they said, we have got to get rid of this aero dependency. They did. They went to the different style noses, different style bodies, flatter deck tins. They've done it once. Would it be good for dirt late model racing if they did it again and figured out a way to just say, here's the deal. We have got to remove the dependency on aero?
Well, I think it would be a good idea. I mean, you look at these the bodies on these late models now, they're all twisted and you know, back when I was on MJ's crew, I mean, the bodies were straight. I mean, you didn't have all this twisting where the front is over here and the back is over here. So yeah, so, over the years, the organizations have just allowed the teams to stretch and stretch and stretch.
And that's the thing. I mean, everything has a little bit of a process to do it, but boy, I think we're hitting that zone right now where they got to do something. I mean, the drivers talk about it, the fans, everybody's talking about it. I mean, if you had to guess, World of Outlaws, Lucas Oil, some other offshoot series like Ray Cook did with Southern Nationals and the Droop Rule, if there was an entity out there, do you think it'll be one of the top series? Do you think it'll be a driver, a chassis builder? If there was somebody off the top of your head that's gonna get the ball rolling on this deal, who do you think that person might be?
Well, who it's gonna be or who it should be is probably a different question. Who it has to be is World Racing Group, right?
I have my thoughts on who I think it might end up being, but you're gonna go World Racing Group, okay? Why do you say that? Or not Lucas, specifically WRG, okay?
Yeah, maybe Lucas, but you get my drift. One of the top touring series, because the touring series, they don't give a shit about what the little guys doing. The big guys got to set the standard, right? And if they don't, it's never going to get there. But what I do know is nowadays you have to have a cushion, and the only way to pass is if you throw a fucking slider.
That's
And
it.
and let's be honest, sliders are the most exciting thing you're ever going to see. But hey, side by side racing, you can still have sliders, right? And but I want to see side by side racing. I want to see guys be able to work their way up through because their stuff is better, right? And throw the slider for the win or throw the slider to gain that position quickly rather than it's the only way I can do it.
These cars right now get buried. They qualify bad and they get stuck in dirty air. It's most of the time they're in trouble. It's just over. Their night is screwed. And so, Bert, any thoughts on who you think it might be?
I mean, I know Changa said World Racing Group, but I mean, both of the top organizations have to do it together because one can't do it and the other one do it because you need the drivers to cross over between the two groups. So it's got to be both of the top organizations.
They do it at the same time for sure. I can see Mark Richards doing this. I can see he right now has lost the stranglehold, and that's going to lead to the next question here, right? They're in big trouble. They're in big trouble right now in the national late model scene with Rocket Chassis. He has a lot of pull in the national dirt late model scene, and he's got to be sitting there looking at it going, we got to do something different. We're no longer relevant. Like, we got to do something different. That guy has a lot of pull. I could see Mark Richards kind of spearheading and kind of getting this going. That's just speculation, right? That's an idea. If you got a Rocket Chassis out there, give old Mark a call, plant a seed, because he might be the guy to maybe help fix late model racing. Speaking of Mark Richards, question for you guys. All right. Was Hudson O'Neal leaving Rocket One the end of the road for both Hudson O'Neal and Rocket One in the national dirt late model scene? And next, will either of them regain relevance in the national dirt late model scene? And if so, which one? Bert?
I mean, I think leaving Rocket definitely hurt Huddy more than it did Rocket One. Just from the standpoint, Hudson O'Neal went to a championship winning team and didn't do a whole. I mean, he was at a championship winning team, and then he goes to RTJ's wasn't a championship team, but I mean, was dominated the entire series, and he did not do as well as RTJ did in that team. And this year, I mean, you don't even really hear Hudson O'Neal much at all.
Yeah, the steal your deal, Hudson O'Neal. He's not posting very good results as of right now. That is for sure. So you're saying that he could come out on the losing end on that. Changa.
I'm a firm believer that both of them will bounce back. Um, Hudson O'Neal was fantastic in Rocket One. He won a Lucas Oil Championship. I mean, this guy was banging the boards with Bobby Pierce, trying to win, big time races. And he's at Eldora winning races, taking championships. Right now, he's got some of the pieces falling into place on a really good race team where I feel like, he's won a race already this year. Granted, it car, but I feel like he's getting faster. He was in contention in the last couple weeks to win some races. Huddy's going to be okay. He might not be what he was in the Rocket One for a little bit, but Huddy's going to be okay. He's a talented race car driver. As long as there's backing, he's going to have chances to win races. There's endless amounts of dollars behind the Rocket One racing program. They've got endless amounts of power in dirt late model racing as far as changing rules and what Mark Richards has done as far as everything in dirt late model racing. um I honestly I feel like Rocket Chassis just need some young blood in their stable. I mean, they're going with retread drivers since Huddy's left. I mean, not that B Chef's bad or not that B Chef's washed, but he's not a kid anymore, and he's a little bit domesticated. Ryan always tells everybody once you get domesticated, you're screwed. They need, perhaps they need to get a development program where they develop young drivers at maybe a regional level where you can get I don't know, say a Jim Chisholm or, something like that, or you can develop a young, talented driver to become the Rocket One driver. But the next question is Mark Richards just too old and just done with this, and I just don't want to do this? And that's a whole different question. And does his kid want to take the next steps for the company to take it to the next level? My opinion is they'll both come out of this. I mean, late model chassis they're cyclical. They go. It's 3 4 years. It all comes full circle. So long story short, they're both going to have some sort of a bounce back. I don't know if Huddy will ever be a champion, but he's going to win races. And Rocket Chassis will come back to some sort of prominence at some time.
I'm not quite as optimistic. I just not. So I'm going to take Hudson O'Neal, right? And he went from being one of the top 3 drivers in dirt late models that year when he won the Lucas Oil Championship. He was legit. It was Pearson and RTJ. They were 1 and 2. But I would say it was pretty clear that Hudson O'Neal was 3, in my opinion, right? Yeah, Davenport was kind of there. Moran was good, but not quite as good that year. I'd say Hudson O'Neal. He won some big races. He won the championship. He was there. When he left mid-stroke, right, and literally kind of unannounced, I don't know the whole details why it happened, whatever, but he left essentially to Mark Richards' surprise. And there's a lot of people out there with a lot of money that have to be going, boy, man, I put that kind of money into him. Is he going to quit on me too? I don't know. Is he going to just be like, well, I'm not having fun anymore, I quit mid-season? If I was somebody, there's not a lot of people throwing money around in the national dirt late model scene, right? And if you have that kind of opportunity, you walk away from it. How many people are going to be out there saying, "Now, I'm going to tell you what, I know you quit this guy. We'll just go ahead and we'll hire you." I don't know. I mean, he did land. He does have a spot right now. Okay, so he did land, but he has not been the same. It's not been close. He was so good, and he is just so average right now. Mark Richards, as far as the national dirt late model scene, you can write this down. It's what, the 3rd of April, 2025? Is that what the date is today? It's over. It's all is Rocket done? No, they're still going to win regional races. They'll win a race or two here and there. But when it comes to true relevance in the national dirt late model scene, guys, they only got what, 3 cars? They ain't got no cars out there. Like all the drivers left. I don't know why. I do know this: the Rockets that were built last year, even on a WISSOTA level, they were not competitive. Right? Some of the guys that went in Rockets last year, guess what they did, Bert? They parked their cars, they brought their old ones back out and got fast again. So whatever they did, their cars were not very good. They lost a step, but again, age catches up with everybody. He's done it for a long time. He's probably the most established and successful team in the history of dirt late model racing. At some point the fire burns out, and I just don't see it getting rekindled, unless Longhorn pisses everybody off and there's a mass exodus like there's right now from Rocket. Everybody's leaving Rocket, right? If there's a mass exodus, right, from Longhorn and they piss everybody off, then maybe. But boy, it is going to take a minor miracle for them to be relevant again, because they're not only going to have to win a race or two, they're going to have to get somebody behind the wheel of that Rocket One that not only wins but literally is side by side with Pierce and RTJ, dominating, double-digit wins, contending for the championship, and they're nowhere near that right now. Nowhere near that.
Well, I mean, I'm not ready to throw dirt on Rocket, but if you look at the history of late model chassis, 1990, what chassis do you think of?
1990?
Well, the
Rayburn?
1990s.
Masters built.
Masters built, Rayburn.
Masters built, yep, Rayburn. Early 90s Rayburn, late 90s Masters built.
And you don't hear about them at all anymore. So, Barry Wright chassis, that was a popular one.
Mike
at one
Belfi
time.
got a Barry Wright icon. Good luck, Mike Belfi, buddy of ours.
But
because of Bloomquist.
You have popular chassis, and then the next greatest thing comes along, and drivers move on. And if and this is to your point, if the chassis builder doesn't make adjustments or figure out why drivers are leaving, then they're going to be an afterthought.
And I'm sure they're making adjustments. I mean, he's not resting on his laurels. Mark Richards is a highly competitive individual, right? I mean, he wants to win as bad or worse than anybody in dirt late model racing. So they're doing what they can to try to compete. But for whatever reason, they're not. And the biggest thing is, and this is my opinion, and I don't even say it's the car. I would say the marketing at Longhorn with what Steve Arpin has done, pulling a lot of them drivers over, that's half the reason right there. When you only got 3 freaking cars out there, guess what? You're not going to win much, right? So that's a big part of it too. So they have to figure out, what do we got to do to get a lot of these drivers back in? Let me ask you this. Did the existence of Rocket One race team sour the whole field? Because you got 2 house cars. You got Rocket One, and they're designed to go win championships. You got the Longhorn house car, seems to be more of a developmental, testing type deal, right? Do you think that some of the Rocket drivers left because there was so much focus on the Rocket One winning that maybe they felt like they were withholding information? Not saying that they were, but maybe they felt that way, and they're like, look, all he's focuses on his car winning. We're going to go a different direction. Do you think maybe that Rocket One has hurt Rocket chassis as a whole?
I don't honestly feel that way. I feel like Rocket One was the benchmark for a period of time. And when Longhorn came in, they decided, hey, look, we know what they're doing. We need to do it better. Okay. They've done it through hiring good people, spending a lot of money, a lot of technology. Longhorn chassis, Longhorn dynamics, they do a better job. Maybe they have more people, more ability. They've got the Rumley ride and Rumley working with everybody and anybody, testing all the time. And he's putting high-end drivers in this car to go test, whether it's a practice, whether it's some regional race. They're always testing something new. Okay, and then the Longhorn dynamics and the shock packages, they're just a step ahead, but it was all developed because we need to be better than Rocket One.
And they passed them. They done passed them, and it's not close right now. So I guess yeah,
But
let us know in the comments. What do you guys think? I mean, are they ever going to be relevant again, or is it over? Bert?
well, I mean, you would think it's going to come to a point with Longhorn though. If they get so many drivers, some of the drivers who aren't winning, they're going to say, "Well, is Longhorn giving all the are they concentrating on the top drivers and ignoring us?" So then they're going to try, try a
That's
different chassis.
and
That's
that's
already happened. That's already happening.
talk about Mike Marlar. Mike Marlar is a classic guy. He's a high end driver on maybe a little bit lower end budget, without a high end engineer crew chief, right? And he's tested this Infinity chassis. And guess what? You put a stud driver with some guys that have got some new ideas and give them a guy to travel with them for even a weekend and make his job easier. And you make a few strides. You got Ryan Gustin, who's an absolute talented driver, and they're making strides. And that's the one thing Rocket's not doing. I mean, not that Sheppy's not a talented driver, not that Turbo's not a talented driver, but Sheppy's their host guy. T Mac was their host guy last year. They're old. They're stuck in their old ways, and there's new, young, fresh blood in that Infinity group, and it's exciting.
Yeah, I guess the jury's still out. We'll see what happens here over the next couple months. But Rocket on their last legs right now. Little shout out here, Brad Parsons, Soil and Egg Solutions. So if you're in Western Minnesota, the Dakotas, planting season right around the corner. I mean, I know there's snow this week, right? But planting season is coming. You want to get the right stuff in your spray packages to get you better yields, which in turn, obviously, you're a farmer, it makes you more money. Give Brad a call, 320-219-3542 to learn about all the great products he has and get the data points, and get the information you need from Brad Parsons Soil and Egg Solution. So guys, let's quickly jump over a couple modified tidbits. So in the last couple weeks, there was three. I mean, there's several, but there's three kind of primary modified events. First, you had the XR Dominator, the first of the bucket list events at the Salina High Banks, $100,000 to win. That was a couple weeks back. Of course, Jim Chisholm won that. We'll get into that in a second. They had the Heartland Modified Tour, which was at Humboldt, literally just a couple hours down the road from the Salina High Banks. They ran against each other. And then the XR Dominator had 66 cars for $100,000 to win. Heartland Mod Tour paid like $3,000 to win, roughly, and they had 42 and 41 cars respectively. This past weekend, King of America at Wheatland, USMTS Modifieds, 3 nights of racing down there, 72, 72, and 71 cars, 3,000, 5,000, 20,000 to win. So the question I really have, so you guys have any tidbits first? Give me any takes that you have. Bert, did you watch any of the modified racing?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
Bert doesn't like modifieds. I get it. If you got a modified guy, Bert basically just give you the finger. It is what it is. I know Changa and I both watched. I didn't watch the Heartland race, but I did watch King of America. I did watch XR Dominator, and
Paramount as
I
well.
want your. So my only take on the Heartland Mod Tour was this: that's a good regional tour. Nothing wrong with that tour. Interesting to me that they had essentially a pretty darn solid car count in the 40s for that little bit of money that close. Now, let's face it, there was a lot better quality of cars at the XR race. That wasn't even close. I mean, there were some good cars, of course, at the Heartland Mod Tour, but it wasn't even close to the level of competition at the XR race. But I was surprised that there was a few of them that didn't make the trip over. I mean, you're looking at $100,000 to win versus $3,000 to win. It didn't make much sense to me. Your takeaways from, I guess, mainly the XR race and the King of America, anything stick out? Anything you want to talk about quickly from either of those two events?
Well, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, um, number one, I mean, we put together a new format, right, for that XR race. And that was really interesting, and it was a lot of fun to see the different dynamic of you just let the drivers after they qualify and do their thing to pick where they want to start in their heat races. That was a lot of fun. I mean, we got to have a little banter. We talked on the last podcast about where would you start? Where would you want to start? And I'm telling you, these guys did not do what we thought what they should do. Maybe what Bert thought. Bert thought that, Jim Chisholm said, I want to start inside pole and not get any freaking passing points. But I mean, I think maybe there was a lack of understanding on our point about the points you get for where you qualify, potentially, right? Because you do get points for how you qualify, and that probably skewed the whole thing. But long story short, I feel like the contenders made the right decisions, and they didn't hurt them as much as we thought it would hurt them. And the race was an absolute a mess. It was a disaster. I mean, every single car in the feature except Jim Chisholm gets a flat right rear, right? Or wrecks out. Um, Cade Dillard, I thought, probably managed his tires better than anybody, but I mean, he looked to be smoother and cooling them off, and I thought he was managing his tires better than anybody, but 2.5 to go, he cuts a right rear down, and and that's a whole nother topic, because I think if he had changed it, I mean, he's like, oh shit, I just pissed away 100 grand. That flat tire cost me 100 grand. I think he still could have won the 100 grand had he just changed the damn tire and got back out there, because there was only like 11 or 12 cars on the lead lap at the time. And there was like 3 or 4 more yellows after that. Couple cars
Right.
wrecked, and everybody else is on, older tires. He probably would have at the very minimum got back to the top 3,
Bert, Jim Chisholm won that race. He was in 6th with 2 laps to go, green, white, checkered. And because of all the restarts, inherited the lead for a green, white, checkered. I mean, it was mayhem. They were running each other over and just body slamming each other, and cars jumping restarts, and he literally he was literally a 10th place car. 100% at the end of that race, because his tires were gone. Everybody else was on fresher tires. At the end of that race, he's a 10th place car, but he literally restarts 6th with 2 to go. Restart, crash, this, that, and the other, body slamming each other. Next thing you know,
guy gets a jump start, gets
that puts him back row. Next thing
he
you know, Jim Chisholm's leading.
Chops the guy's nose off. I mean, he did on that restart. Once he got the outside pole, he goes balls to the walls, chops the guy's nose off, and he's like, "Fuck it, there's 2 to go, and if I wreck a tire, hey, I'm going for 100 grand." And he just buries it in there, chops the nose off, and finds a way to win. Right, man, it was beautiful.
So he goes on and wins that. Of course, King of America, Dustin Sorensen got himself a new sponsor on night 1. He's sponsored by Dairy Queen. That's not very nice. He wins. He got DQ'd, Bert. Night 1 of the King of America. DQ treats on his car. Jim Chisholm Dillard won the 3 races down there. Let's just be honest. Cade Dillard right now is the #1 modified driver in the country as it sits right now. Jim Chisholm, I think, is #2, but I don't think I think he's definitely a step down. There's a gap there. And so 2 things. #1 is this. 145 cars for 100 grand to win in 2024 at Mississippi Thunder Speedway for their XR event. 66 cars for 100 grand to win at Salina High Banks. That's not good. That's an issue. Let's face it, there's been a lot of controversy, warranted, not warranted. I don't know all the details of everything, but Barry's reputation got stung quite a bit over the last few months. Do you think that was the biggest factor for the lack of cars at Salina High Banks? Is that?
Yes.
Bert's sitting there going, I'm not saying a word. Bert's
Oh, I mean, and I'm a Barry guy. I like, he's taken over one of my favorite racetracks, and I know he's going to do
Mm-hmm.
amazing things, and he's already done amazing things. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately, right, wrong, or indifferent. That has to play a part in why, if you're racing for $100,000, you got 66 cars, and 2 hours away, there's like 42. Did you say?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I mean, what? That makes no sense. I mean, and obviously, if you're a field filler and you're a nobody, you ain't. It costs money to get into 100,000 to win race, right? You got to pay a whole bunch of money to get into it. If you don't have a chance to profit money, you're not going to go. But there was probably 10 guys there that were good runners that could make the feature. And, obviously in a race like that, when if you could just manage your tires, you could be a top 10 car and profit. It has to play a little bit into the reputation for sure.
Now, with that said, he made it clear that he needed to make some changes. Barry did, and he even has it posted on his XR races. You're going to get paid the night of now. I mean, there's a few cars that won't because of tech, right, tires or whatever. But he, as any business person does, you recognize, yeah, that probably should have been done differently. And then if he applies that and does it differently, boy, in racing, there's a lot of people. All of us have done some shit that probably we shouldn't have done all the years of racing. It's just part of the sport. And the fact is, it is crazy to me how unforgiving, like, and just like on straight on attack mode people are because of he did a couple things here and there that probably should have done differently, and it's like, holy balls, like I've seen people get pissed off. I've been pissed off at tracks, but I'm never coming back to this place. Okay, we'll see you next week, right? And right now it's like people are just crucifying the guy because they don't like a few of the things he did. And I don't know. I just got to look at it and be like, there's not many people out there, guys, in the dirt racing world that are doing big stuff. They're just not. There's not a lot of people out there doing that. I'd say you got to give the guy a chance to rebound. That's just me. You got to give him a chance to rebound, and hopefully some of these drivers do and support these races, because you don't get to race for that kind of money very often. So take advantage of it when you can. And if he, fool me once, that, fool me twice type deal. If he proves to not get any better and do some bad things, okay, fine. Okay, that is what it is. But I don't know, man. I think you got to give the guy a chance to rebound, and I'd like to see these big money races succeed.
Who the hell else is sticking their neck out on the line like he is to try to give the racer an opportunity to do that, to win that kind of money? That's game changing type of money, right? I mean, that's the shit as racers we dream of, and nobody else is doing it. He's doing it.
Until
So
he came around, modifieds never raced for 100. Well, I guess they did one time. I think Batesville had that 100 grand to win. But other than that, I think that would be the only time they have. So I don't know. Give the guy a chance is what I'm saying, and we'll see how it works from there. But the last takeaway, guys, I have on mods, King of America, right? I'm telling you what, Bert, there couldn't have been 200 people in the grandstands. I'm talking, dude, there's 70 plus modifieds, the best in the country. Dillard, Jim Chisholm, Joe Chisholm, Kyle Strickler, Rodney Sanders, Tanner Mullins, right? Carlos Amado Jr., all these top modified guys, Dustin Sorensen. I mean, it is a who's who of modified racing. Unbelievable field of cars. And there could not have been, and I'm telling you right now, them 200 people that were in the grandstands, I
it
promise
beats
you,
Saturday.
they came with the freaking cars, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So modifieds do not draw fans. That there, I don't think anybody can argue this. If you want a crowd, you have 410 sprint cars, crown jewel late model race. Bert, is there any other class of cars out there that even draws a fan base of casual fans to come in, or is that it?
That's pretty much it. I mean, for large crowds, yes.
And it's sad. 200 people to watch that race. That is just it's and that's not a streaming deal, guys. That's not a streaming deal. You're not going to lose that many fans because of streaming. I don't get it, and maybe it's location. I don't know, but mods don't draw. So that brings us to our last couple sections here. 2025 pick'ems. We're gonna start with this. So remember last year, Bert, we actually did a deal where the winner of the pick'ems got to pick a car that we're going to collectively sponsor for the 2025 season, right? And throwing money into the hat for that. Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solutions. I did with Ryan Aho Impact Health Solutions. Dano did. Dan Filto. Worker Bee. Kent Chon did. And Curtis, the winner, he threw in some money as well. $1,500 going to a driver of his choice. And he picked street stock hot shoe from the state of Wisconsin, Ty Agan. So congratulations, Ty Agan. $1,500 sponsor. I enjoy watching the kid. I think that's a good choice by Curtis. He travels a lot. Curtis is like, I want a young guy that races a lot. He does just that. I don't know much about him. I mean, I watch him race, but I've never met him. I don't know his finances or whatever. I don't think they're a huge budget team by any means, but that's a guy we're going to be watching. That's our car. That's another one of our team this year. Ty Agan, congratulations to that. Good luck in 2025. The points right now, Coach leading at 142. Changa, you and I are tied at 135. We're 7 back. We're not worried. Kraus going to run into a tire. DNF, not a big deal. Probably won't even turn his picks in one night. Curtis at 130, starting to make me a little bit nervous. It's a little too close.
Say that again. What are we at?
135.
And who's at 130?
Rain Man, Curtis.
Oh, fuck.
That's too close for comfort. That is too close for comfort. Dano at 122. Josh, who had a big week, his first big week. Congrats, Josh Waltz, 121. Worker B, you and Bert are at 118. You got a little work to do. Bert, you got a little work to do there, guy. Come on now. Two-time champion of this deal. Come on now.
I'm saving my equipment.
All right. Uper at 117. He's still shoveling snow up there. JR at 109. Man Bun Dan at 107. Then we got Bromance and Beefcake rounding out the field. So we had a whole bunch of races picked for this week, guys. We had a bunch. We had a whole bunch of races. Everything rained out except for one, the Bama Bash. Hunt the front late models at Talladega. And I went there. She's a different animal down there in Talladega. Holy shit. Changa, I don't know if you knew this or not, but if you want to drink beer, you have to go in the pits. You're not allowed to drink beer in the grandstands during the races. It's like, I'm like, I was confused. I went there. I was down there with Befra, and yeah, we came in and they had a cooler full of beer, and they're like, hey, we're going to go in the grandstands. They're like, no. You got beer. You got to go in the pits. Oh, yeah, we drink it after? No, you can drink in the pits as long as you're not racing. You can drink. That would not work good at some of our tracks. There would be, and again, that's why there's fist fights all the time in the South. They're probably half drunk and crocked up in the pits. So we're going to pick the Bama Bash down there, and we'll jump into our bold predictions now. And I got Upers. He sent his in. I got mine. And I don't have Krause's, which is fine. We're going to make 3 laps around the track. We're going to make 3 racing-related predictions to close out episode number 253. Bert, green flag in the air. What is your first prediction?
Bold prediction.
Bold prediction.
Now,
all right.
Overton's following Lucas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Bold prediction. Bishop will have more Lucas Oil wins than Overton.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Bishop will have more Lucas Oil wins than Brandon Overton?
Yeah.
Bert, you're drinking on the podcast. What do you got there? I'm trying to see. I can't see what he got.
It's
all right. That is bold. He's got the holy water there. Guys, can you do me a favor too? Write down what you make for predictions right now. If you don't,
I don't tell 10, but I have mine written down.
Send them to Uper. Okay, so when you get your predictions, get it all worded how you want it.
Yeah.
Send them to Uper so he has them. If you guys can do that after the show, little.
Oh,
Okay, so all right, that's the first one there. Bichette, more Lucas Oil wins, then Big Sexy Brandon Overton. That's Bert's number one. Changa, what do you got?
well, because we, we're having to cut this short and all this fun stuff. So I'm just gonna give you something. So my first one is World Outlaw Sprint Cars, okay? There will not be a driver within 200 points of David Gravel at the end of the year, okay? And just for some perspective, I just wanted to give you some statistics, okay? So in David Gravel has 19 straight top fives, okay? And in them 19 straight top fives, I got it written down here somewhere, so I gotta find it, right? He's got 7 wins and 15 podiums. Okay, 19 straight top fives going back to last year. He has not been out of the top 5 yet this year.
Do you want to make that 400 points, or are you just sticking with 200 points?
I was just gonna say it's really not a bold prediction, is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Talk about
it's pretty bold. That's a lot of freaking points, right?
Chonga's a hockey guy. He's the one. He's the one sitting in the crease there, waiting for the goalie to fall down so you can get that little tap in right there.
You don't think 200 is bold?
Gee, no, I don't.
What?
We'll count it. That's fine. That's all right. If you want to tap
So
in, you're trying to pad your stats. That's okay.
Within 200, I feel
That's
like
okay.
it's bold.
Kraus is going to have a field day with this next week. That's fine. That's fine. Well, I can't wait to tell. 200,
Shit.
200. He's probably got 200-point lead already.
Okay,
I'm not really sure.
in perspective, he won the points by 78 last year.
That's fine. He's going to win by, I bet he wins by 400, but that's okay. That's okay. That's all right. That's a tap in. That's okay. Bert took a bold prediction. You didn't have to. You guys kind of swapped roles here. Not a problem. All right. You swapped roles.
All right.
Uper, his first pick is this. The Cedar Lake Speedway outdoor track, because I burnt him on this a couple years ago, by the way. So the Cedar Lake Speedway outdoor track will not host a race until after April 21st. They will not start as scheduled. They already canceled one.
They got a foot of snow. That's a bunt.
It's all melted. I talked to Chris down there. It's all melted. So Cedar Lakes, that is a bunt. Not quite as much of a bunt as yours, but it is a bunt. Cedar Lake Speedway will not host a race till after April 21st. All right. My first one, here's the deal. If we're gonna do bunts, I'm gonna do a bunt too. Okay, I'm gonna be like Changa. Okay, we're gonna do a bunt.
Oh my god.
We're gonna do late model racing on the national scene. These 3 series specifically: Lucas Oil Dirt Late Models, World of Outlaw Late Models, Castro Flow Racing Night in America. The Infinity chassis will have more wins than Rockets in those 3 series. There will be more wins by Infinities in Lucas, Woo, and Flow combined than there is by Rockets in 2025.
Why not just throw Hunt the Front in too?
Now we'll stick with them 3.
Yeah, because Hunt will just give you more Overton races.
Well, Overton's in a Longhorn.
No.
Right. So that has nothing to do with this. This is Infinity versus Rockets.
I ain't gonna go any further. Fair enough.
All right, Bert.
I was just checking sprint car points. Right now, Gravel's up by 78 over Macedo.
Yeah, there's only so if he's up by 78 after like 13 shows and there's like 50 shows left, if you average that out, I'm just saying.
We'll talk 60, so he should be ahead by 300. But he's gonna. Hey, he did this at the beginning of last year and then had a major slump because I picked him to race the whole year.
I don't wish ill will on anyone, but I hope he gets a flat for about the next 12 races, to at least make the points interesting, because I think he'd still win. All right, Bert, your second prediction here. What do you got? 2 to go.
All right, I'm going to say Shawano Speedway does not start their season until at least May.
At least May. Shawano Speedway at least May. When are they scheduled to open?
The 12th.
Oh, okay. That's a tall task if they want to book Clay on this week. Good luck with that. Huh. All right. Changa,
That seems like a bunt, doesn't it?
right?
Shit.
Right. He probably just got off the phone with the promoter. He stepped away right there to text the promoter. So you're for sure not racing until May. So in case you're listening and not watching, Bert stepped away for a minute. He was probably calling the Shawano promoter. So you're opening in May. Okay, cool. Here's my next prediction. They're opening in May. All right, Bert. We see how you operate now. All right.
Okay.
Changa.
So my second one is going to be, I like to have something that'll come off the board soon, right? So I'm going to go hunt the front this week. And nobody in the top 10 in points in the Hunt the Front series will get a podium in the 2 races this weekend.
All right. Nobody in the current top 10 in points. So make sure to get a screenshot of what the top 10 is right now.
It's your guys.
Huh?
You guys are the freaking scorekeepers. That's your job.
Oh boy. I'm not. Youper's the scorekeeper.
I could totally do that.
Yeah. So make sure to send these to Youper, by the way. All right. Youper's second prediction here. He's going to go Hunt the Front late model series as well. Bama Bash at Talladega on huntthefront.tv. There will be 50 plus late models both nights. 50 plus late models both nights this weekend at Talladega. And I don't know how many of the national touring guys are going to go. I mean, there'll be a few, but there's more staying home than there is going. I know that.
I've talked to everyone.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna take Changa's boyfriend, the smooth operator Bobby Pierce. Okay, in 2024, he won 14 of 42 World of Outlaw late model races. That was 33.3%. Okay, of a win percentage.
Bunt.
In 2025, okay, he will eclipse 43%. So I'll go 10 points higher percentage wise. His win percentage in the World of Outlaw late models at the end of the 2025 season will be over 43%. All right. White flag in the air. Bert Lehman, bring us home.
All right, I'm going to stick with what I said earlier in the show, and I'll make it a bold prediction. I'm doing the a-hole philosophy where we have to wait a year before we can see if it's correct or not.
Right.
But T-Mac will get at least 3 World of Outlaw feature wins.
Okay, I want to clarify this. A feature?
Yes, a feature. No split fields.
No B features, no splits, no C mains. Okay, so A main wins, non-split fields. T-Mac has 3 or more. All right, that's bold. I like it. Changa.
All right, so I'm gonna go entirely against what Bert said earlier, just for fun, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go Hudson O'Neal will have more wins than Bishop this year. And not only will he have more wins, he will also finish higher in the Lucas Oil points than Bishop.
Okay, there we go. I like that. That's a solid prediction. Probably another bunt, but okay. I'll take it.
It's a bunt. Do I have to add something to it? I mean,
No, you're all right. That's 2 things. You're all right. You're all right.
I could throw something else in there if you want, and I could predict a number of wins if you want, but
no, we're good. We'll count that. All right, Youper's third and final prediction. You guys see Mike Stearns posted on social media his late model for the 2025 season. So the Showtime Boys 24 is old tagline name, I think, on the old 2020 page when we used to kind of bicker back and forth. The Showtime Boys 24 will have at least 5 WISSOTA late model A main wins in 2025.
Bunt.
Bunt. Okay. We'll see. I hope he does. but he's got Becker, he's got Skorcheski, he's got Scott Ward, he's got some hitters over there. So Showtime boys, and that Lee Gross has been quick. So at least 5 with Soda late model A main wins for Mike Stearns. All right. My third and final prediction, and I won't put this out. I'll put this out a few months, guys.
Oh, that was your third and final prediction.
No, that was Youpers.
Oh.
That was Youpers. My third and final prediction, I'm going to go the Dwayne Mader Memorial, July 19th at the Cedar Lake Speedway. Now, also racing that night is the Challenge Series at Ogilvie also races that night. So it's a little bit perturbed by that. It is what it is. Scheduling sucks. I think that's just kind of a bad deal. Now, keep in mind, guys, 10,555 to win currently for the Mater. 555 to start. Word on the street that's going to increase. Pretty cool things to come down the pipeline. Cedar Lake will have at least 15 more cars. At least 15 more late models at that event than Ogilvie has at the Challenge Series event on the same night. I was going to double them up. I was going to say they're going to double them up, but I feel that might be a little bit tall. But I'm going to go 15, a minimum of 15 more cars for the Mater than what they have at the Challenge Series at Ogilvie July 19th. So
off the record, what do you think? Guess each track. What's the car count at each track?
Let's say 20 cars at Ogilvie. And if I had to guess, and I was not quite daring enough to bet this, I think they'll have over 40 at Cedar Lake.
Oh, what?
So
I mean, if it's 35, you're good, right?
If it's 35, I'm good. I hedged a little bit on that one because just in case Ogilvie gets a few more, because there's a few people that race there quite a bit, and there's some people that are a little bit more lean towards Wissota, but I think Cedar Lake's going to draw some Eastern Wisconsin cars. I just think they're going to get more cars for that kind of money. They should, and they have some pretty cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Stay tuned for some information on that event as well. So with that said, guys, episode 253. Bert, what do you got?
I was just going to say, I just went and checked the Dirt King schedule to make sure they didn't schedule over the Mater either. But they did not.
They did not. They did not. No, I checked on that as well. I don't know if the NLRA races that weekend. I think they do. I think the NLRA, I think they're at Fargo and at Devil's Lake the 18th and 19th of July. I'm pretty sure. So that kind of keeps those drivers up in that pocket up there. So yeah, interesting deal, but boy, there were two tracks pretty close together. But the Dwayne Mader Memorial, guys, that's always been one that I've really enjoyed because as a kid growing up, I'll never forget Dwayne Mader him and John Canta both stayed. There used to be a hotel in Chisholm, not the Chisholm Inn and Suites. There was another one over by the Iron Kettle restaurant, Changa, you know where that was, right behind M West. But that used to be a hotel. I think it was called the Scottsdale or whatever. And Canta and Mader both stayed there. And as a little kid, I rode my bike over there and BSing and got some pictures of them. And, I just became a fan. Dwayne was such a good, he was so easy to get along with at the racetrack, and he died, tragically too soon. So that memorial race has always been kind of a cool one. And, they do a good job with that. And this year it's at Cedar Lake for the first time. So with that said, that's his show in the books. So always fun talking racing, guys. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the show. It's a long one, but we haven't done very many of them, so we just got talking a whole lot of racing here. If you have to pause it, you can always watch the rest of it later. It is what it is. But as always, I'm Ryan. That's Changa. That's Bert. Thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.